Another world, Grosha, some creature is flying towards the city. Mikuldola, the ancient dragon, difficulty legendary. The dragon turns his head and sees some kind of cloud of energy in front of him. Extreme step magic meteorite shower. And here comes a man, a great sage, whose immense magical power has earned him the reputation of a living legend. He looked at the ancient dragon with disdain and noted that it sounded respectable. The leader of the Magic Guild, the great celestial sage Cedric, asks his interlocutor not to take him for a fool. He doesn't understand why they decided to ask him to reverse the declaration of war. It's absurd. The leaders of the Magic Guild stand before him, 3 wise men. One of them explains that if he declares war, it will be too late. Does he really want to bring their country to ruin? Cedric replied that the damage would be great, but he had a tactic. The guy says that if the probability is not 100%, then it is worth thinking about everything again. The man said that this decision had already been agreed upon with His Majesty. The sage said that demons are very powerful. Cedric is the country's next emperor. He can stop the war. The leader proposed a different solution. They would have to sacrifice 10,000 victims to the demons every year. Do they really think this is acceptable? He responded that, compared to the population, the number of victims is negligible. He suggests bringing the elderly and orphans as before. Cedric told him to shut up. He talks about avoiding a significant population decline. No one should be allowed to live, nor should anyone be killed. This has been the demon's custom since ancient times. He doesn't accept it. He asks about the purpose of magic and the purpose of power. It's clear that these are fangs aimed at those outcasts they don't like. His name is Cedric. He is the first sage in history to achieve the title of Heavenly, and the only one who decided to lead a rebellion against the demons. The boy exhaled and said there was nothing he could do about it. He snapped his fingers. The next moment, soldiers entered the room. Cedric realized they were going to take him by force. He wanted to say that they couldn't cope with such a number, when suddenly his strength began to leave his body. The sage said it was weakening magic. Yes, he could destroy several thousand people single-handedly. And he can successfully wage war against the demons. He wanted to convince the emperor to declare war because he is the strongest. But will he be able to stand up to all the empire's warriors? And then there's weakening magic and poison. Will he be able to resist them all year round, 24 hours a day? The guy kicks the hero and says that all his power is his own. This power is his limit. And so he demanded the power of the Facilia Empire to fulfill his personal desire to destroy the demon race. Cedric asks if he is really prepared for the human race to become demon servants for eternity. He replied that only the elderly and children were sacrificed. It didn't apply to them who had rights. The boy noticed that the leader was interfering. If he hadn't done anything, what had happened now wouldn't have happened. The hero decided to make a promise to Ammon. He promised that one day he would definitely destroy the demons, and the foolish people who decided to do so. Ammon says that no matter what, without him the emperor will continue to doubt. He also added that in the royal court, all the aristocracy except His Majesty think that the hero is just a burden. The man closed his eyes and called them stupid people. However, his last words are not at all elegant. He is sorry. As Ammon said, he felt the limit of his power. The growth of magical power usually ends at age 40. After this age, one can hone one's techniques as a mage, but the growth of the soul, the source of magical power, stops. He is the most powerful magician in history. What will happen if he, who has the knowledge and skills of a great sage, tries again from scratch? Mikuldola, the ancient dragon, Samaris, the fierce angel of 8 flames, Ifxer, the world tree of magic. Once upon a time, he faced these powerful enemies alone. Now, it's the same thing. Thanks to the principle of reincarnation, which he spent 20 years developing, he can overcome the entire demon race single-handedly. It's a shame Ammon refused to rebel with the demon emperor, but even the rebellion against him was just one part of a larger plan. But by overthrowing him in the wrong place, they brought him here. The hero found himself in the body of a boy who was in some room. He noticed a mirror standing nearby and looked into it. There he saw the reflection of a young man. Cedric didn't know who it was. The body was already an adult. He thought he would be starting with the body of a baby. He noticed traces of a ritual. It was a ceremony of summoning the devil with self-sacrifice, and his soul was carried here. An accident happened, but he's in a young body. Everything worked out. He decided to move straight to the experiment, when suddenly there was a knock on the door and an announcement that his dinner was ready. He responded with what was about to happen. He was too excited for his age. He decided to start by gathering information at the table. Alfred is sitting at the dining table. He has been served food. He really liked the food. It was even more than good. He asked for more. Then he asked for more again. His senses sharpened. He thanked the servants for the food. He asked to tell the boss that he liked it. The servants were surprised. Cedric didn't understand what had happened. The butler replied that they simply hadn't expected that from him. Alfred said that those who do a good job need praise. It was delicious. The hero realized it was all about praise. He repeated how delicious it was. The butler asked if the master would be attending the magic school starting tomorrow. After all, he hadn't attended for 2 weeks without a reason. The guy has a child from his ex-wife. His father may stop providing for him. Alfred agreed and said that he would be going to school starting tomorrow. He hadn't been there for a long time and so asked to be seen off. However, the fact that he has no memories really bothers him. He decides to find out from this body. Using hypnosis magic, he will cast memory magic on himself. Alfred is beaten by his classmates. They say that they were friends with him because he is from a good family, but in reality, he is just a son from his ex-wife, who does not even really interact with his father. And he doesn't even know how to use magic. Of course, his father would give up on that. Now they'll restore their friendship. Alfred said that they themselves had become interested in his family and started befriending him. The boy punched him in the stomach and told him to shut up. He added that he annoyed them. They just wanted a toy for fun. They always wanted a punching bag that wouldn't hit him back. This school is for the elite. They're stressed out. Alfred couldn't understand how they dared to do this. Then he noticed the teacher. He wanted to ask him for help, but he said that he had a message from his father. He told him to live his life relying only on himself. Students are judged by their academic achievements. He told him to be equal to others. Alfred pointed out that what was happening now had nothing to do with his grades. The teacher replied that whatever the case, he was on his own now and left. The man paused for a second and told the hooligans not to hit him. The hooligans smiled. Alfred doesn't understand why they are doing this. The guy replied that if the teacher saved him, then the teacher, on the contrary, would have problems. So the hero is just a punching bag. He looked toward the window where his classmates were watching him. He asked them to do something. He says they suddenly started beating him and couldn't help him. But they didn't react. Alfred turned to Charles. He told him that it was strange. He should understand. After all, they had been friends since childhood. He replied that he too had received a message from his father. As a classmate chosen by his parents, he, a lower-class aristocrat, had been forced to befriend him. Now he was free. He would now choose whether to be with the hero or not. He said goodbye to him and said he hoped they would never meet again. The others outside the window began to laugh at the hero. They called him cunning. The hooligans said they were all honest with themselves but would only attack from the front. They started beating him. He was foaming at the mouth. He lay on the ground. They continued to beat him, and the others simply watched from the window. One of the hooligans ordered dog feces to be brought in. Alfred shielded himself from them. However, another one came up with something else and told him to open his mouth. And as a result, the mad boy Alfred became interested in summoning demons. He decided to fulfill his last dream and sacrificed his life, and it turned out to be revenge. The demon is him. The butler escorted him to the academy. The boy thanked him. The man asked him if he was sure. Alfred didn't understand what he was talking about. He replied that he was talking about his classmates. His father wasn't pressuring him about visiting. He was thinking about how he could somehow resolve their conflict. Alfred refused and said that the man could be free. Someone is still worried about him. He walked into school. There was a guy sitting on the stairs. He stuck his tongue out at the hero and remarked that they hadn't seen each other for a long time. The second one said that they were already worried. He asked the hero for a silver coin. Isn't that too much? What will they do if he stops walking again? They decided to ask the hero for a gold coin. They started laughing. If he did it right now, his father wouldn't give him anything. Alfred hadn't quite remembered everything about him yet. If they started making fun of him here, it would be bad. One of the guys grabbed him by the collar and asked him why he was ignoring them. Did he really want to get hurt again? The hero replied that he didn't want to cause unnecessary harm. Even if he wanted to fight him, he was nothing compared to him. The bully noticed that he couldn't even use magic and raised his hand to strike, but someone stopped him. His friend reminded him of what the teachers had gotten into last time. He talked about how they'd gone too far and damaged school property. He asked his friend not to be afraid. If they beat him up, nothing would happen to them. They decided to leave after noticing witnesses. They went behind the school, no one would see them here, but they'd thank him for being such an upstart. Alfred exhaled and noted that relieving stress by beating up a defenseless person was not at all elegant. One of the hooligans decided that the young man had gone crazy and rushed to attack. Cedric and Alfred's body remained unperturbed. He stopped the attack with one finger and began preparing for the attack. He sees all this as a freeze frame. He raised his hand to strike, and the next moment he struck the enemy. The guy flew a decent distance, and then crashed into the wall, leaving a dent. His comrade was shocked. He looked at Alfred, who was flexing his arm. He said that an elegant attack is to say this. The hero said that an elegant attack is to say this. One hooligan was slammed into the wall. His comrade was perplexed. He asked the boy what he'd done. Had he really found a magical object at home? Alfred replied that he didn't need such things. He had his own trained magic. The classmate started laughing. Born into an elite family of mages but with severed ties to his parents, he had trained in magic. The boy rushed into the attack. But the next moment he himself received damage. He lay unconscious on the ground. Alfred realized that until he understood his surroundings, it was better for him not to do such things again. To mend the walls and heal the wounds, he can't invade their memories, but they certainly fear him now. If they tell anyone, no one will believe them, at least not right now. Alfred left, the hooligans woke up. They don't understand where the wounds are, but for one, it's like walls were broken. But she's fine. Alfred comes from an elite family of mages. He probably used the artifact that cast the illusion on them. They don't believe that he can be so strong. After yesterday's sleep, the memories of this body are beginning to slowly connect with it. He seemed to have arrived at his class, but someone stopped him. It was the teacher. He said that the young man was no longer in the top class. He's in 3rd grade this month. This is so he doesn't think he'll always be under his father's wing. His class is at the end of the 2nd floor. And from that day on, the teacher stopped treating him with respect. The boy thanked him and left. The man looked at the boy and said that he had gone from being a prince to being a dirtbag. Alfred was standing at the door when suddenly it opened and students ran out. One girl crashed into the hero. She recognized him and said that he had never shown up before, and they were already worried. She took his hand and told him to hurry. Alfred said he still had a lot to learn. He asked her name. She replied that she was the head girl of the servant class. They arrived somewhere. Alfred noticed his classmates and asked what they were doing. She replied that they were collecting rocks. Later, the upper-class students will practice magic here. We need to make sure no one trips. She realized the young man wasn't familiar with the new system. Their school had 3 classes. They were divided into the first class, influential aristocrats and commoners with better academic performance. The second class consisted of aristocrats and commoners who were good students. The third class consisted of those who were good students. The former aristocracy, now commoners, and the commoners. The girl explained that classes are assigned not only based on knowledge but also on grades. If you don't have enough grades by the end of the year, you could be expelled. And thanks to their grades, commoners can rise to the top. Effort is rewarded here. For example, serving food to the aristocracy in the dining room, carrying things for the aristocrats when moving to another class or on the way home, or, for example, picking up stones. That's why she doesn't give up even when picking up stones. She'll do anything to be in a higher class. She wants to prove that commoners can become magicians, just like the late Mr. Cedric, the best magicians. Then she noticed that the first class was about to arrive, but they weren't finished yet. Suddenly the earth lit up. All the stones have sunk underground. The village elder doesn't understand what's wrong with the stones. One of the nobles said his nose would fall off from the smell of commoners. An aristocrat got lost among the commoners. That's a rarity. Alfred's father abandoned him and they stopped treating him like an aristocrat. They transferred him to a class where he belonged. They called him poor. The bully told them they didn't have to work today. Instead, they could watch their lessons. They must thoroughly understand the difference between them. He was preparing to attack. They started attacking the targets. They succeeded. Then one of them told the servants to bring him something to drink. The village headman brought him some water. He slapped her on the cheek and asked why he had to wipe his own sweat. Then he called another guy and gave him something heavy to hold. Alfred thinks it's an unpleasant landscape, and these are servants. Isn't that why they're servants? However, they don't have time to go to their classes. The girl replied that they were earning points instead of attending classes. There was no other way. Now they are servants. Once they rise, there will be freedom. They're cheating the system that rewards effort. They're even stealing their right to an education. a fully fledged discriminatory system. How callous she is, the girl asked the guy what happened. Was he really scared? One of the guys fell down and asked about the one who hadn't picked up the stone. He told them to get out. How dare they interfere? They behave like this even after they've picked up all the stones. Alfred wanted to say something, but the headman stepped forward and said she had been cleaning there. He asked him if she had really thought she wouldn't face any consequences for her irresponsibility. It's not because of the stone, though. The girl said she'd done her job perfectly. It wasn't because of the stone. The aristocrat became angry. He asked how she dared to behave like that. Did she really think she'd get away with it just because she was beautiful? Who does she think she is? He swung to strike. The girl closed her eyes. But someone stopped the blow. It was Alfred. The enemy flew back. He doesn't understand how he stopped him, but he decides not to dwell on it. He rushed to attack the guy. The hero will get the girls in return. He kicked him in the face. The girl ran up to the guy and asked if he was okay. He told her not to worry. He created a magical barrier. And the fact that he hit him was actually just right. The bully hopes that the hero now understands who he is. This point system was promoted by those who started bullying him. He even thought it was created for his benefit. Alfred asked if he really meant to say he wasn't guilty. He said something about the 10 Swords of the Round Table. It's a secret bureaucratic agency operating in the shadow of the royal court. Its mission is to raise fully meritocratic royal pocket swords and to nurture the next generations of 10 swords. The 10 students with the best academic performance secretly become contenders for the title of sword. Besides teaching, they are also responsible for resolving disputes between aristocrats within the school, managing commoners, and running the school. 10 swords, that is, candidates for the role of the one responsible for the king's dirty work, responsible for intrigues within the court and governing the population. And he talks a lot. Alfred asked who they were. He asked for the name of the one who kicked him out. Was he really just someone's pawn? This was a way to help the boy he'd moved into. He wanted at least someone to get what he deserved. The guy answered that he didn't know. Applicants are not publicly disclosed, no exceptions. The day after tomorrow, at the exam to advance to the second year, if he does better than everyone else, he'll see everything, even if he doesn't want to. But that has nothing to do with him, since he can't use magic at all. Also in this exam, in one-on-one fights, they will be against them. Those who beat and kicked him will be against him. Everything is specifically set against him. Everyone looked at the hero angrily. Alfred thanked the guy. The guy didn't understand what he was talking about. The hero says he shared some valuable information with him. It's only logical that he should thank him. That is, if he needs to beat them in this exam and give it to them better than everyone else. Alfred asked whether it was really necessary to beat them up and hand him over as the best of all. The hooligans looked at each other and laughed. They didn't expect this. The phrase was simply a masterpiece. Even if he passes the exam with the highest score, he will never become the best in this school. The bully knew it. He doesn't know about the match between class representatives. The exam will involve more than just a test and a regular match. An exam to sift through the top of the school, which appeared this year. I see, the hero doesn't mind a simple test, but it's unrealistic to expect them all to be able to fight in combat to test their skills. That is, specially selected students will compete, and thanks to them, the top of the school will be formed. However, their class, including the second one, is going to refuse to participate. Because they're scared, that's why he doesn't even have a chance to participate in the battle between the representatives. The hero repeats his words that they are going to refuse. But he has one question. What happens if he collects 3 and wins them? Everyone was surprised by this statement. The guy pounced on him and asked him what he was saying. What made him think he would succeed? The teacher told them to stop. Arguing is bad. Did a 3rd grader just almost out-argue a 1st grader? Then he could become their class teacher. He could even promise them that as a curator. And then he will be able to admit that they have the right to be called first class and everyone will stop using them as servants. But if they show even the slightest sign of pity, then they will remain servants. The students returned to class. The headman asked what had become of him. Didn't he understand that he was up against the first class? Others say that because of him they could all suffer. Alfred said he felt like they were already being treated poorly. They had nothing to risk. So what should they do? That's just the way this school works. They have no choice but to shut up, listen to what the people above say, and hope they don't ruin their mood. Alfred says that he just wanted to know if they themselves felt sorry. He asked if anyone wanted to take part in the representatives' match. A classmate responded that if anyone else participated with him, their feud would fall upon them too. The hero understands that there's nothing he can do to help them. The servant spirit is already deeply ingrained in their souls. They have already completely given up. The class monitor said 3 people were needed for the representative match. If she could find one more person, she'd agree. Her classmates told her that if she agreed, it wouldn't just be him, but the whole class. She said that whether they get it or not, they will remain servants. Then at least she wants to try to change something. That's why she wants to seize this chance. She doesn't want to submit even without resistance. Alfred thought she was different. She had a strong will. The students were saying that it was impossible to upset the upper class. Even if they participated, they wouldn't win. These two are bothering them. He tells them to do as they please. Even if they try to persuade someone, a third person will probably not appear, because they will not win. The headman understands that they really won't find a third one. Alfred says that after the headman agreed, he didn't even plan to look for a third among them. He didn't even expect it. They asked him why. He replied that the 2 of them were already enough. The headman asked if he really had a plan. The boy said he had an acquaintance at the academy. At the edge of the closed city of Darsh, a dangerous region, a forest of no return, a young man walks through the forest. A monster appeared in front of him. The greatest genius since the founding of the Magic Academy. He held that title for over 10 years. After completing elementary school as an external student, he graduated from the middle division of the Magic Academy at age 12. He decided to join the Magic Guild without attending high school. He no longer felt any point in learning and training. He decided to quickly become the best magician in the academy. The man tells Silos Taylor that he is starting his exam from now on. The boy believed he could one day become the world's best magician. And that day, during the entrance exam, the great celestial sage Cedric appeared before him. Silos used 3-stage magic. He used the skill Rock Bomb. The sage is against him. His magic has no effect on him. Everything is going according to plan. As soon as he neutralizes the magic, he will have a weak spot. That's his goal. His goal is to fail the exam. He wanted to defeat the general at the age of 12. He wanted to become a legend. Cedric easily defeated Silos. The guy didn't understand what had happened. Where was his weak spot? He defeated him without even using magic. Silos said he'd underestimated the guild general. Cedric said the exam was over. Then he added that the young man was not worthy to join. Magic guilds accept military contracts. If he'd fought, the boy would have died many times over. Silos said that he was his opponent and the other guild members wouldn't understand the value of his abilities. Cedric said he wasn't talking about abilities. He advised him to come back after graduating from the Magic Academy. The boy shouted that he had nothing left to learn there. Cedric told him not to overestimate himself. The man released magic. The boy doesn't understand how so much magic comes out of him. This is the magic that was in him during their battle. It can strengthen him physically. Silos realized that he had been honing his magic during the battle. Refining magic is also a method of concentration. It's the simplest method of learning to use magic. If he learns to hone his magic at his level, his physical abilities will improve on their own. Breaking the rocks he saw is a piece of cake for him, but can the boy do that? He replied that he hadn't. Cedric realized that Silos hadn't learned the basics from elementary school. The boy asked if his magic was even worse than the basics. His words sank deep into his chest, and at the same time, he felt a strong desire. The boy thought about how beautiful his honing of magic was. Cedric said his current magical honing was worth 0 points. He told the boy to make him give him 1 point next time. And 5 years have passed since that day. Silos fights the monster. He remembers Cedric's words about forcing him to give him at least 1 point next time. 5 years have passed. At the Senior Magic Academy, he wasn't exactly as strong as a student. He was closer to his teacher's strength. He fell into the circle of students studying My Star and increased his strength. And this is a Minotaur, and for a B difficulty monster, his name is synonymous with physical attack. He continued training day after day, curious to see how close his magical power had become to Cedric's. Silos used physical enhancement. There's no opponent as predictable as him. The guy struck. The monster raised his hand to strike. Silos dodged and raised his hand to strike. He dealt numerous blows to his opponent. He managed to dodge and struck the young man in the face. He won't let himself lose, and the next moment he delivers a powerful blow. A hole appears in the monster's body. Silos is happy with what he's done. Now he'll accept it. Suddenly, the young man heard something and began to look around. He was surrounded by monsters, although there should have been only one minotaur here. It seems he was lied to at the guild. He's already exhausted, even despite his physical enhancement. Even if he had already used all his magic to the limit, the chance of survival was 0. But he won't die so easily, he'll take 3 with him. He wanted to show him the magic he had mastered. The monster swung at the guy. Suddenly someone appeared on the battlefield. It was Alfred. He dealt with the Minotaur with ease. He said that it gives him 65 points. He has some good magic. The hero greeted Silo's tailor. He would like to learn a lot from him, but first they will deal with those who are hindering them. This trained magic, he was thinking the same thing then, how beautiful his magic is. This is the great sage, Cedric. The guy fell on his face. Alfred asked Silos to listen to him. The classmates don't understand what's going on. How did the academy's genius end up here? They say Silos has surpassed the teacher's level. He's exploring my star alone. Silos said they knew about his special position at this academy. He, the researchers, and his class included. They all participate in the learning process, and this is no exception for 3rd grade. He turned to the class monitor. Now he and his class could participate too. Alfred reminded them of what he'd already told them, that they could do whatever they wanted. They might launch a counterattack against the first class. Don't they have anything to say in response? The hero told Silos that he was Cedric's reincarnation. His name was now Alfred Belial, but this had to be kept secret. Final exams, written exam day. The bully doesn't believe Alfred is serious about doing better than everyone else on the test. He was bullied so much that he went crazy. This class is just rock bottom. Suddenly, someone bursts into the classroom and announces that something bad has happened. Silos has been transferred to the servant class. All the guys are shocked. Silos is that genius. What pulled him there? He's just incredibly smart. Thus, in the class confrontation, they found themselves in danger. That is, if they won, their classes would switch places. The guy says everything's fine. Yes, Siros is a genius, but the other 2 are just trash. They understand that they cannot win. The heroes walk down the hallway and all the schoolchildren are shocked. They're surprised to see the real Siros. They don't understand why he's with them. The headman asked about Alfred's condition. He didn't understand what she was talking about. She replied that there would be a battle tomorrow. It seemed she held a grudge against him. If he dies in a one-on-one fight, they won't make it to the team battle. Alfred said he doesn't think about dying during a school exam. It's not a big deal. The hero is worried about the girl. He asked about her condition. Regarding the written exam, instead of worrying about others, she worried about herself. The girl says she'll do better on the written exam than a 1st grade student. And she has a name. Her name is Lisa Wilson. They're friends, so he can call her Lisa. The written exam, 40 minutes have passed. 60 minutes remain. It's really tough this time. If she doesn't speed up, she won't have time to write the essay at the end. She noticed that Alfred was sleeping. He seemed to have given up because he didn't understand anything, even though he said not to worry. But she's just worried. Silos has finished too. The questions for 1st-year students are pretty tough. He doesn't know if it's because of the teacher, but there was one question he didn't know how to answer. But he didn't think that after answering in 10 minutes, Alfred would lie there like that, which was expected of Cedric. He looks like he's sleeping, but he's actually practicing Tanden Hoku, magical training. Using his free time to concentrate, he trains the magical pathways in his body. Silos decides to follow his example. Lisa noticed that Silos also lay down on the desk and began practicing magic. That same day, the teacher's lounge. The teachers can't understand how Alfred got a 100 in such a class. He even scored 2 points better than Siros. The teacher inserted a question into the exam with the latest magical formula, which was explained last year by the same commander of the Magic Guild, Cedric, so that there would be no perfectly completed answers on the exam. And the students solved this problem, and with Cedric's formula too. This can't be true. The teacher says it can't be true. It looks like the exam answers were leaked. They approach the principal and say they have an emergency. They ask him to deal with the student who scored perfectly on the exam. The man suggests investigating who leaked the exam answers before the results are announced the day after tomorrow. The teacher says there's no point in investigating. They need to figure it out now. The principal said it was too early to conclude the exam had been cheated. It would be better to keep an eye on the student first. Okay, so Siros insisted on transferring to 3rd grade. Okay, the exam results. This boy has a secret. The next day, the arena for one-on-one combat. The bully noticed that the hero was full of energy, although he thought he would be too scared to show up. But it would have been better if he hadn't come. The teacher suggests punishing the dishonest one. And so begins the one-on-one combat test. The teacher says that Alfred Belial is terrible. The boy doesn't understand why he was called such. It all came about because the young man had answered all the questions correctly on a recent test. The young man, standing there, was surprised that he'd solved such a difficult test. The teacher thinks he must have cheated. He asked where he got the answers. He condemns him. He understands. He thought the teacher would look at him differently if he got the test right after his father abandoned him. But cheating is too much. If he were just stupid, it could be corrected, but he is worse than an animal. The teacher turned to Michael and told him that this was an isolated incident. If he went overboard during today's exam, he wouldn't stop him. This is a punishment because it is simply incomprehensible to cheat on a sacred school exam. The guy knew it. He remarked that it was odd that no one was there, but that's why there were no spectators either. Then he smiled and said that Alfred was now in the corner. He was finished. They were given permission. Last time he beat him harder than anyone else. This time he won't leave a single unharmed spot on him. Alfred wished that his words would come back to him. Michael laughed and remarked that the young man had completely lost his mind. The teacher even noted that one could sympathize a little with his madness, but he still wouldn't forgive him. They need to stop chatting. It's time to start. The participants must move away from the lines. Michael thinks he'll beat him until there's not a single living spot left on him. Nothing will stop him. The teacher announced the start of the exam. The bully charged and said he'd finish him off quickly. Alfred thought that, as usual, he wasn't elegant. He'd only need one hand to defeat him. However, his body does not move. Michael grabbed the boy. He was about to throw the hero into a crouch. Even if he died, he couldn't keep his mouth shut. The hero decided to use special magic. This is a 5-step iron protection. Michael abandoned Alfred. He thought he had won, but the young man rose to his feet. There wasn't a single wound on him. The guy decided to attack him with his fists. Alfred's body is no longer cooperating. He's been hit in the face. He continues to be hit. Memories of that terrible incident begin to appear in the boy's mind. Cedric understands this boy's body is severely damaged. And it turned out to be fear engraved in the body itself. That's why Lisa was worried. The hero asks the boy not to be afraid. He's not afraid anymore. He will take revenge thoroughly. So he asks him to stop. The hero intercepted Michael's blow. Then he raised his hand to strike and mentally thanked the boy for his patience. From now on, he can rely on him. Alfred delivered a powerful blow to Michael, which sent him flying a considerable distance away. He crashed into the wall and left a dent in it. He lay without a creature on the ground. Alfred remembered the words about killing being allowed. Michael thinks about how he can't get up. His whole body hurts terribly. He said he couldn't take it anymore. Was he really going to beat up an unemployed man? Did he really think he'd continue? Alfred said that until they say the fight is over, he is not going to stop. The teacher sat on the ground in shock. The hero decided to finish off his opponent. He grabbed him by the collar and lifted him up. The bully begged him not to do it. The next moment, Alfred slammed him into the ground. The blow was so powerful that it even broke through the earth. Michael's spine was broken. He lost consciousness, although this blow won't leave him with an open wound. He commanded something to open. There are magical channels within the body running along the spine. He broke these channels. He took away the mage's ability to use magic forever. Even most of the king's mages couldn't learn such a technique, but for him, it was a piece of cake. Michael came from a family of renowned military mages. It would be interesting to see how his family would treat him now that he'd lost the ability to use magic. Now he could find out for himself. He remembered the guy's words about the boy not being able to use magic. No wonder his father abandoned him. The hero had said that meritocracy was a cruel thing, especially now for him. The next day, the schoolchildren gathered at the results board. People don't understand why Alfred has 100 points when even Ciro's has 98. Alfred's former friend says that Michael also ended up in the hospital after the fight. The hooligan doesn't understand what's going on. The hero observes the indignation of his classmates. He thinks that they probably don't understand anything, although they don't need to understand. He, the great sage, has no need to continue, but in the last battle he promised the owner of the body that he would take revenge on all of them. He apologizes, but he needs to finish the job. Who will be next? Lisa was talking about yesterday's match. She learned that his opponent had been taken to the hospital. She asked what had happened. The hero replied that fate had, so to speak, punished him. She also decided to say something else. She asked why only he would have to take the marksmanship test. The young man didn't have time to answer when suddenly someone called out to him. These were the bad guys. They came to look at his vile figure. After all, he was the one who destroyed Michael yesterday. The teacher supervising the exam refuses to reveal the details of the match for some reason. He must have weakened him with some forbidden tricks, since a puny like him can't beat Michael. So their class decided that they would publicly shame him. He told him to act. They left. Alfred mentioned that it seemed they thought he had cheated on the exam. Lisa asked about the marksmanship test. You'll need to fire magic at a target at a certain distance to measure its accuracy and power. There won't even be any chance to cheat. Lisa understood everything. Alfred asked about her and Ciros's results. She said that Ciros's opponent had surrendered before the fight, but Lisa had also won, only because his opponent wasn't a student from their first grade. She might not win next week's match. Alfred told her that he and Ciros were with her, so she didn't need to be afraid. The young man could understand them. Looking back at Alfred's past, so many impossible things had happened. It's no wonder they think he cheated. However, he feels like Alfred has something special. He wants to see what he'll do in the marksmanship test, which is impossible to cheat. The hero said that he was lazy. He doesn't understand how one can measure strength using a target that can neither defend nor attack. Ciros agreed with him. He didn't understand either. Alfred asked what he meant. He replied that the principal had asked him to demonstrate how to shoot at a target before he began taking the exam, before ordinary students began taking the exam in front of him. The director wants to expose him by letting him give a demonstration. The hero said this was a good chance for him. That is, he needed to show the hero how to pass the exam. Ciros noticed that the guy was unpleasant. It was exam time. The guy said that you need to break down a very thick wall in front of a huge audience. Lisa explained to him that he needed to aim at those targets. He replied that he knew it. The bully said they came to see the loser Alfred. Looks like it'll be fun. See the difference between Alfred and Ciros. The latter says he'll have to show them. He activates 7-tier magic and uses the skill Dragon Burst. An explosion occurs. The schoolchildren saw the power of Ciros. No one can stand against someone like that. People heard that he was a genius, but could he use 7-step magic? This is the level of a teacher. This is magic that only the leaders of the academy can use. He destroyed a target that was resistant to magic. That's too much for an exam. Alfred is next. His target is on the left. The guys called the hero poor. It would be funny if he fired a simple fireball after Ciros. Everyone is looking at his back. He was tired of these cold looks. He decided to warm them up a little. The director was surprised to see such a quantity of magical power. This is the ultimate in multi-layered magic. He uses the skill Meteor Shower, but nothing happens. Couldn't he even fire a fireball? The boys were about to start laughing. Suddenly, they noticed something flying towards them. The target was pierced by numerous blows. There was an explosion. The director understands what these are. There was a dent in the floor. People don't understand what happened. Lisa knew something would happen, but she didn't think it would be this. Ciros said that this was expected of the hero, excellent control of magical power. He hadn't thought it possible to suppress the power of a meteor shower like that. Alfred replied that if he had not given it to her, nothing would have remained of the academy. Lisa doesn't understand what they're talking about. Neither does the director. He asked if this was really 8-step magic. Not just a 20% power boost, but also the use of meteor-like magic. It's a destructive magic that rivals his magic in his prime. The guy asked what it was. What kind of trick was it? The other hooligans said it wasn't a trick. They were probably all just tricked. Is this his real power? It can't be. He can't use magic. He decides to go to the hospital and ask Michael everything. He's sure to know something. He'll find out what happened to Alfred. The capital, the medical sanatorium at the University of Magic. Michael opened his eyes. He doesn't understand where he is and why he is here. Memories of the exam surfaced in his head. The boy jumped out of bed. He understands that he has disgraced himself. He, the son of a prestigious family of mages, how dare Alfred disgrace him? He won't forgive him, even if he has to ask his father to put pressure on the school. He'll force him to be kicked out of school. He tried to get up when suddenly a sharp pain pierced his body. A girl entered the room. It was Amelia, and next to her was the doctor. Michael said he needed to beat someone up. He was in pain and needed to fix it. The doctor replied that he couldn't. He said he was lucky to be able to stand at all. The young man was perplexed. The boy said he was leaving and ordered the doctor to treat him. The doctor asked him to look at his legs. They were shaking. Was he really going to walk with them? The wounds will heal on their own within 6 months. Then he will be able to live peacefully. Michael tells him to shut up. He's going to go like this. He needs to get revenge on him. Amelia won't let him leave. The guy said that if they interfere, he will deal with their hospital. He stood up and decided to use a 2-stage magic skill, Ice Needle. However, nothing happened. The doctor explained that the magical chain originating from the spine was severely damaged. The doctor wondered who had done this to him. This was the first time he'd seen such a sophisticated example of chain destruction. The doctor said that Michael would never be able to use magic. Amelia hates to tell him, but his family can't forgive him. The owner of the mansion said he's taking away his eldest son's title. He's already been expelled from school. And they hope that he never leaves the mansion again. The boy went crazy. He started screaming at the doctor to treat him. He ran up to him, grabbed him by the collar, and asked him to heal him and bring his life back. The man looked at the boy with pity. Tears appeared in his eyes. Suddenly she started screaming. His back hurt so much, it felt like it was about to burst. The doctor realized the anesthesia had worn off and ordered more. Michael doesn't understand why this is happening to him. Amelia ran out of the room and saw the guy's friends. She realized what they'd all heard. She told them to leave because Michael was dangerous. He continued to scream in pain. The boy didn't understand what was happening. He called Alfred a demon. He fell to the floor and realized that the hero had decided to take revenge on them. The guy says that the demon decided to take revenge on them. Charles said things were bad. There would be no mercy for them. The bully says Alfred got all worked up about the exam and decided to send them all to the hospital. The other one doesn't understand why he suddenly became so strong. Charles says he comes from a family of legendary mages, so for family reasons he didn't show them what he was capable of, or perhaps the blood of another race has awakened within him. The boys were surprised. They'd learned about this in class, I think, something about returning the power of one's ancestors. The current vice commander of the mages comes from a family with a legend that humans and dragon gods once crossed paths. Charles had heard that the blood of the dragon god had once awakened within him. However, the hooligans didn't believe it. They didn't think Alfred could be that one man in the country. Whatever the case, Alfred is strong. If they don't come up with a plan, they're in danger. They don't think about the fact that he will suddenly attack them, but he can destroy them, just like Michael during the exam. So you just don't have to fight him during the exam. Whatever the case, the guy has one idea. He asked who they thought his father was. Without waiting for an answer, he said he was the Emperor's chief spy. His father has connections to the Assassin's Guild. Charles decides to rely on him, killing a mage using 8-step magic. The man doesn't believe there's such a student among them. If it's true, it complicates everything. Then he's on par with the Emperor's guard mage. The boy reminded him that the man had once killed under the Emperor. The Emperor asked him not to talk nonsense. They weren't just a bunch of thugs. They couldn't win in a world where force ruled. The young man was shocked that even they couldn't help them defeat Alfred. The old man suggested they negotiate the price. The young man thought they wouldn't win. He replied that they wouldn't win unless they took it seriously. They were going to use it. These are pills that counteract the use of magic. They won't do any harm other than preventing the use of magic. You need to give it to the person you need to drink and then call them into the alley. The guy realized that if the magician stops using magic, then anything can be done to him. Of course, he could be killed. However, be that as it may, it's just a squabble between schoolchildren. Is the boy sure he should take it so seriously? The young man dumped the coins out of his bag and asked if that would be enough. The man replied that 50 gold coins were enough. These coins were the remainder of the treasures in the safe his parents had sold 2 years ago. He had stolen them. There was such an uproar in his mansion. But he's the eldest son, no one will burn him. Plus, while searching for the thief, they probably convicted one of the servants and chopped off his head. He remembers his face clearly. The man understood the boy's nature and said that 25 coins would be enough for him. It's an advance. If he becomes the head of Similit's household, he'll become his best client. The boy agreed. He thought that now he would definitely deal with Alfred. Alfred sits in the dining room and asks for more. Alice is shocked that he eats such a huge amount of food at such a speed, but he observes etiquette perfectly. Except for the number of empty plates, this is the most elegant meal she's ever seen, but she'll pretend she didn't see it. The hero said that he needed coffee after eating. Someone turned to him. It was the Similit family's son. He said he had something to talk about. The hero asked him not to disturb his tea break and to leave. He said he'd brought him something to drink in the hopes of improving his mood. He wanted to apologize for everything. Alfred assumed he'd seen Michael's state. He said he had no chance of winning this week, so he decided to play it safe. The word shame isn't even in his vocabulary. The bully was thinking about the pills and said he had a gift for the guy. He found out who had the best academic performance and who could get into the swords of the round table. The hero thinks this is the man who nearly killed the body's owner. The young man reveals that among the contenders is a member of the intelligence service. He didn't find this information easy. He's the one who's done the most harm to him. The guy suggests he let them apologize and close the matter there. The hero agreed to listen to him. He replied that they needed to talk in a secluded place. This was school secret. There was a secluded place. He told the boy to follow him. They came to a dark alley where 5 mercenaries were waiting. Alfred asked what they were. The bully said the young man had gone too far. The hero realized he was talking about the exam. He made an attempt on an aristocrat. The desire for revenge is the least of his concerns. He comes from an aristocratic family, but his parents abandoned him and he's just an ordinary citizen. Alfred said it was unfashionable to rely on one's family these days. The bully was surprised that even in such a situation he was acting this way. He was indeed strong, but he couldn't cope with them, the aristocrats, no matter how strong he was alone. He's a great aristocrat. Using his power and rights, he can do anything. Alfred understands that, using his money and connections, he wants them to beat him up. He noted that the young man was nothing compared to them, but he had slipped something into his coffee. Alfred assumed he was talking about him not being able to use magic now. He had unpleasant memories of poison. He wouldn't repeat his mistake. He could actually reverse the effects of such a poison right now. And this is an assassin's guild, after all. He'd felt like someone had been watching him since this morning. He immediately thought that one of the first-class aristocrats had his eye on him. The hooligan was shocked that, having realized it was a trap, he had already drunk the antidote and still walked into it. The hero confirmed this and added that he had already experienced something like this. In such a situation where he cannot use magic, he will win by using only hand-to-hand combat techniques. What'd you need after eating? The Simulate family's son ordered assassins to kill the hero. One of them appeared behind the boy and tried to wound him in the neck. However, the young man grabbed his hand, and the next moment he threw it over, hitting the ground. Alfred told them to attack. He hoped they would be stronger than his desire to sleep after lunch. He didn't understand how a man without training his magic and without physical enhancement could defeat the guild members. The guy said he was a master of Oriental martial arts. There was a saying, keep your softness under control. Also called the Holy Zone, a technique that can be used by masters. He realized that there was only one left. The antidote has taken effect. Now you can use the physical enhancement. The boy begged to be spared. He didn't understand what was happening, and he couldn't even fall. The hero decided he had had enough. The guy was happy about it. He needs to fall. He didn't understand why he cured him. The protagonist replied that it was because he almost fainted. The boy thought he was forgiving him. He said that this was the end of his revenge for bullying at school, but he was not ready to forgive the fact that he wanted to kill him. The hero wanted to start the second round. He decided to finish the exercises after eating. The way he dodged his blow was rather inelegant. The best way to clean is to burn garbage. The guy said he hadn't been there for a long time. That time, he was attacked by the assassin guild Black Snake Venom. This is enough evidence. The documents were written before he was born, so some information may be out of date. If he were him, he would have immediately started acting and would not have made a single mistake. In any case, there are few among the corrupt officials who recognize him. It's all because he's elegant. He said that he would give as much money as needed. The guy asked to kill him. He said that this wasn't enough. More drastic measures were needed. The man asked what was the matter. The shelter was surrounded by royal police knights. He didn't like to introduce himself to evil people. But I am forced to introduce myself due to my position. His name was Theodore. He was the chief royal police officer of the knights. The man asked what he was doing there, as they were just selling groceries. He asked whether such bloodthirstiness was important for the flower and fruit trade. Be that as it may, information reached them that something was fishy there, and they were going to search the mansion. There was a leak somewhere, but it was too early to jump to conclusions in that room. There was no evidence of a crime. If you don't let on that there's a basement there, nothing will happen to them. Theodore asked to show the basement. He knew and he came anyway. The man said it was over. He will be cruelly executed because he has done a lot of things. And he too is finished. The boy said that he was the eldest son of the Simulates. Even the royal police can't do anything to him. Theodore said it was a great dynasty. The guy said that if he didn't want to get into a fight with his dad, you should just pretend he wasn't there. The man said that everything was correct, and if his father was detained, he might get into trouble from the palace. But he didn't care. He's the most famous person to ignore the situation in the palace. Fraud is fraud, crime is crime, and he's never lied in his investigative reports. Of course, his father knows about this too, and unfortunately, he is also a criminal. It will be faster to write down what he had planned. The royal court is a nest of poisonous snakes. No matter how close a family member he is, if he has done something wrong, he will be rejected, and such is the law of the world. Attempted murder is a serious crime. There is no guest room in the prison. The guy realized that he had been abandoned. He couldn't believe it. The man said that if he resisted, it would only get worse. Theodore told him to surrender. He ordered the knights to escort him. The man did not understand who put the documents on his desk in the morning. What elegant documents look like those of a wonderful person, with whom they destroyed the criminal organization. In a magic school in a classroom, the guy said this couldn't be happening. They didn't believe that his comrades had been caught by the royal police. The boy said he was expelled from school and disowned by his family because he didn't take advantage of his luck. Now there are two left. Michael can no longer use magic. They were next. Michael and his child no longer have a future. There is no room for doubt. Alfred's abilities are real, and he will destroy them without any pity. The guy said that he would take revenge on them too, and that they needed to strike first. They told him that it was easy to say whether a group of 30 people would be enough. They dominate all the bullies in the school. You can gather not even 30, but 100 people. They have a servant who has been on a roll lately, and they will destroy him altogether. He asked not to talk about Alfred. It was impossible since he used 8th level magic. Rumor has it he took revenge on a whole gang of professional killers. He and his friends decided not to run into trouble. He asked not to be dragged into this. The guy chickened out. Even the lackeys refused to help them. One of them said that they were not allowed to look down on them and they would not be forgiven for it. Sadly, Chad and Michael were thrown out of the game and their school reputation was in tatters. He always thought they were idiots, but he never thought they were that idiots. They lost 2 of them forever and they really cared about their reputation. This is what it means to be born into an aristocratic family and know no troubles. They only need to say a word for others to follow their whims. It never even occurred to them that they were in danger. If they lost the mock battles, their class and the servant class would switch places. They said this promise was honored. The guy said he would go to the cafeteria. He couldn't tell them to their faces that they were hopeless idiots. And then together they figure out how to resist Alfred. Their opponent is a real monster. He better not mess with the fool. The 3rd grade class is setting the table for the 1st grade class's lunch. The girl said this is already a routine. The hero said that the napkin can be folded like this. The man said he was looking for the 3rd grade and would like to talk to Alfred for a while. It's time to counterattack. You simply couldn't find a better chance. The main character said to wait, and before listening to him, he would like to speak out himself. The man said that he understood his proposal, but he could not make such a difficult decision right away and needed time to think. He said they would see each other again. Preparations were complete. A staff meeting was held at the Magic Academy. The headmaster said that as they all knew, in the previous exam, a student named Alfred had surpassed Sila's, and this was the first time since the Academy's founding that they had such excellent results. He was currently sending a message to the capital to conduct a magical test so they could see how abnormal everything was. Even if the 3rd class defeats the 1st, their positions will change. The man said an eye for an eye, and it was nothing more than a verbal promise. You shouldn't take him seriously. The director said that he was seriously considering the possibility of changing positions. The 10 swords of the round table issued by their academy are an assessment of ability based on social status. For several days now, there has been an opinion that the policy of managing the 3rd class is unfair. We have not yet postponed solving this problem. I do not wish to get involved in conflicts with the aristocracy, but this is a great opportunity. In the future, student Alfred will undoubtedly bring glory to their academy, and perhaps even become a world-famous magician. But according to him, Master Clive carries the sacred time of a teacher. It would be inelegant for him not to fulfill his own words. If this happens in his heart, only contempt for the school will remain, and he will be forced to write a letter of expulsion. Depending on the outcome of the mock battle, the positions of the classes may change, and the aristocracy will undoubtedly be unhappy about this. As the head of the class and the one who made this promise, he will be forced to take full responsibility. Alfred, who has achieved the best results, can win. Defeat would cost him his head. This was the first time he had encountered such ruthless tactics. At such a young age, he has already become a class leader. You won't find a better candidate for the post of school principal. The man did not understand why this was happening. The guy said he had something to talk to the teacher about. He decided to ask directly because both he and the teacher would soon find themselves in a very unpleasant situation. The man said he was aware of what was going on at the school, but he didn't think Alfred was capable of such a thing. The boy had a proposition. As an accepted candidate for membership in the Round Table of the 10 Swords. The man said it was a secret and couldn't be discussed there. The student said he understood, but he didn't choose the methods. After all, if this continues, chaos will surely overtake them. It's simple, but without him and the 10 swords that can interfere with the school's self-governance system, they won't succeed. It's war now. And he has a way to control it through many ways to attack and destroy Alfred. One day, when she was a child, her older sister was brought to the mansion of a great aristocrat. She was told that she had accidentally met the Duke, who was secretly walking around the city. She remembers thinking this as a child. The girl didn't understand anything then and didn't even see her sister's tears. She knew nothing of the meaning of the word mistress, nor of the fear of society, nor of the defilement of the bedroom, nor of the abomination of that Duke. Nothing about his wife's envy, or about the abuse, or about the fact that she became a sister after she had become boring to the Duke, and she lived without knowing. It's all because my sister didn't tell me, even though she promised to send her letters. The last letter, which arrived several months later, contained several gold coins and said that the sister was not with her wife, but a servant who eventually committed suicide. It was a formal letter that attempted to compensate for what had happened with a modest amount of money. She decided that she would no longer allow anything to be taken from her without justification. With this thought in mind, the girl studied with all her might and entered the Magic Academy. But still, in the academy there are aristocrats, and everyone has their own status. And again, everything was taken away from her. Alfred greeted the headman. The girl said she asked to be called by her first name. The guy said he wasn't used to it yet. She said that she wouldn't let anyone take something away from her so easily. There's a fight tomorrow. They must try. The girl wanted to become stronger. The guy said that now Alfred would never win, no matter how strong he was. The girl said that tomorrow at the duel there will be a battle against the first class 3-on-3. She must try not to be an extra burden for Alfred and Ciro's. The guy said there was nothing to worry about even if she lost. He and Ciro's just need to win. She felt that she was not included in Alfred's duel plan. The girl is disappointed in herself because she is weak. The guy said that there was an unpleasant situation regarding tomorrow's fight. The rules were changed for them. It was decided to split the battle into blocks and hold a tournament in which those with the highest percentage of victories would participate. The first grade team was far from their block. They were so afraid to fight them. However, this was the final exam, and such changes were too unexpected. This is probably the work of the 10 of Swords candidates. What they do is quite unreasonable, but only they are capable of such a thing. The 10 Swords candidates want to destroy Alfred, so they were able to easily rewrite the rules. The hero said that it would be difficult for them to talk about the average winning percentage. To qualify for the tournament, you need an 80% win rate. Well, their team can win 2 times and lose 1 time. The girl thought that because of her, they wouldn't get into the tournament. The guy said he needed to show them something. He asked to follow him. Magical power is a power connected to the soul, and it is widely known in the magic community that those who have been on the brink of life and death have more magical power. The potion was called 50-50. When taken, the fatality rate was 50%. It can only be drunk once in a lifetime to increase your magical power through survival techniques, and there are almost no people who dare to drink it. Returning to life from the brink of death is equivalent to approximately 5 years of training, meaning people usually choose to continue training. But the risk of death is just as high. If she, who has strength better than the average student, drinks it from the academy, then any enemy will be easy for him to defeat. That's what they told him. It was a very unusual potion, so he wanted to show it to them someday since they loved to study and asked to go back to class. The girl said that he was a bully. If he didn't want her to drink from him, he wouldn't have brought her there. The guy asked them to calm down from that potion. It could kill them and he didn't think they'd dare drink it. Come to think of it, no one would drink such a potion. The girl said that she knew she couldn't survive being so weak. She will not survive not only in the unfair academy, but also in the future life. But in front of her there are two strong people who fight against injustice and show her the way. The girl understands what she needs to do and she is ready. At that moment her life changed. She wants to be proud to be their friend. The hero said she had done bad things. The guy said that no matter what, he was a bad person too. Because he could make the risk of death zero, Alfred said it wasn't that simple. Even he would have to look after her for several years after she drank the potion. If of course, he managed to save her from death, and he didn't want to waste his energy on some stranger whom he barely saw and didn't know. But she showed her confidence. He had to admit it would be worth the effort. The guy said he liked the whole production too. Now everything is ready. They will show them who they are. Only an elegant victory suits him and his friends. The guy was attacking another guy. All three of them won. In that block, all the team members are weaklings. They decided to do so themselves. It was too simple. The guy said that he is the strongest. He asked what the others had. Alfred's team is about to have a match. The guy said they would demonstrate everything. His strength against the suddenly appeared abilities of the genius class. The guy said he gave up. He was told that it was a wise choice, for he understood their differences in the village and understood the difference between barbarity and bravery. And he didn't have to get his hands dirty in vain. Zero's won without a fight. The boy said he would have surrendered on his knees if it had been him standing before him, but now he felt the strongest. Alfred had won all the fights without fighting. Alfred speaks next. The girl said she had a request. She wanted to give up. The hero said she had decided she would lose even before the fight. The girl replied that she couldn't win. She shut up. He repeated his comrade's words and said that he thought a little differently. It's okay, he didn't understand why she decided to surrender to him personally and not before the judge, but he's not that simple. The guy said he would be more gentle and told her to try to fight him. The girl agreed. The battle began. The hero used 7-stage magic. It was magic that even teachers couldn't use. The flame of evil. He even incinerated the judge. It was a heat-resistant wall. According to the rules, those who stepped outside the ring lost. Alfred won. Unlike him who accepts someone else's defeat without a fight, he does not lower his rating or disgrace his opponent, no matter what the difference in strength between them. She was afraid of this. He showed the difference between them and won by throwing her out of the ring. He did not harm her body or her pride. He won without causing any damage. As expected from Alfred, the guy said that if they had been opponents in that fight, he would not have had such mercy on them. Without the wall, not a speck of dust would have been left of them. Their comrade said that it was okay, because Alfred's team would lose. After all, there is someone with them who will be a hindrance. The only weak point of Alfred's team is Lisa. She is called one of the strongest first years, the Flaming Levi. However, she couldn't cope with her comrades, so they decided to cheat so that she would fall into their hands. Whatever her name is, he doesn't know if they can win. They can't lose to a woman. Down on you and your enemy will want to win. He will have to show a big difference in skill and use a beautiful and big move. The girl used 5-step magic and fire dance. The spiritual barrier has been activated. There are no students in that academy who can break through his defense. For this moment, she continued to train her magical power. The girl used instant and reverse techniques. She used 5-stage magic Ice Fang. Be that as it may, it was the first victory. The man said that he came to report. The father said that he did not expect him to come from another mansion. It was about Alfred. The man said he didn't want to talk about him. He has already decided everything, and he is no longer his son. The man wanted to talk about what happened during the annual exam. My father was told that if he was kept back a year, then there was no need to tell him. He deserves it all and he needs to be kicked out of the mansion, and he doesn't care where he dies. He's not interested in trash. If he mentions him again, he'll fire him, no matter how long he's been with them. Alfred received all marks on the exam. He took first place from zeros. In the target hitting test, he used 8-step magic, and in the duel, he showed incredible strength. The man said he couldn't believe it. As the director reported, it could have been occupied. Their family became a dynasty with strong magical power thanks to the mixing of human and demon blood. He asked about the next exam. The man said there would be a tournament next week and the hero would win again. His father asked to cancel all his plans that day, and he wanted to watch his victory. Finally, he became worthy of being called his son. They reached the final. He said that now he did not understand what they should do and suggested that they also surrender before the fight. By doing this, they will only anger Alfred, and while they are studying there, he can take revenge on them. They simply fell for his bait, but they weren't the ones who started to mock him. It all started after the Ten Swords document was distributed. At first, people's reaction was the same. The boys realized that third parties should not be afraid of him together. The 10 Swords are to blame for everything. The guy asked why he was worried about those who set them up. As a member of the guilty party, he thought he was also taking revenge on him, but if he revealed his identity, it would be bad. He was capable of that. They must listen silently to what the class above them says and hope that they do not spoil their mood. The guy said he wanted to apologize. When he said that he and the class monitor wanted to confront the first grade, they were against it. They were surprised to see how he handled it. They didn't know that the headman and the boy were so strong. They were the class's hopeful stars. They were admired. If they tried as hard, they would become like them. Although their abilities are different, he understands that they will not become like them. Well, the fact is they're grateful. The guy asked me to beat them in the final, and that's all he wanted to tell them. The hero said he would accept the thanks, but he couldn't pretend he didn't hear it. The guy said that he was possessed and that he was a genius. The protagonist said that Lisa drank a secret potion for the battle, and after her recovery, she was so ready to change her destiny. In fact, it used to be like that. Ciros looks like a genius, but now nothing makes him a genius except his efforts. He'll win the duel next week and eliminate the class. They'll be able to use the time they wasted trying to please the class above them. Opportunities and unfair family situations too. There is no justice in the world, and that's a fact, but time is fair for everyone. Whether to seize the opportunity or not is his choice, but one must not give up hope. Humans can even surpass demons if they train hard enough, he believes so. The principal wrote that due to the students' abstention from the exam due to the strength of Class 3 would advance to the finals by default. Furthermore, the abstention of the class's students is not allowed due to special circumstances, so the finals will be a match between the two aforementioned teams for the class. A separate exam will be held for those who withdraw from the exam. This decision cannot be reversed, even by the candidates for the 10 Swords spot. They won't be able to win. All the students would be watching the finale. It sounded interesting. Everyone gave in. They brought in the principal. So this is a personal invitation from Alfred. He won't let them escape. The girl said that if they lose, they will take power over them, and so they asked them directly if they can win. They didn't see how they could win since he was a monster who used 5-stage magic, and there was another guy with him. The girl said that she knew perfectly well that they would not be able to win by fair means, and they had to have some kind of plan. She said that they must win, and this is an order from her as an aristocrat. They said that they were also aristocrats, and if she didn't like something, she should fight for them. The girl said she couldn't resist him. Such barbaric tasks were the work of a lower caste. The boy said they were of the same caste. If they lose, their class will switch places with Ciros's, becoming Class 3. She, the daughter of the Habsburgs, will become lower. Their class was finished. The guy got angry and was asked what happened. He took the documents he had abandoned. As he had said, he examined Alfred's behavior before and after his change. And he found something interesting in history in the National Library. He asked to pay attention to the day. The day before I start going to the academy again. The guy thought he just wanted revenge. There were only books about physical abilities, methods of obtaining drugs that enhance performance, and the ability to temporarily increase magical power. He asked to remain silent for a while, as one book had caught his attention. Alfred suddenly became stronger as if he were a different person. If he used this book, everything is starting to fit together. It was an encyclopedia on demon summoning rituals, which should have been forbidden literature, although he could have taken it through family connections. The guy said that his ancestors had entered into him, and everyone knew about it. Summoning a demon, there are two ways to create a strong pact. The first is to summon a demon in exchange for your soul. The second way is to give your body to the demon and let it possess you. And the demons originate from the tribe of demons that rule over the world. That is, people who are subordinate to demons can summon a demon which cannot be condemned. There is a way to defeat the demon and they will win. He also liked Charles's plan. If they lost to the class, he could be expelled from the academy. They couldn't win against Alfred and his friend. The man said that in his first class there were many sons and daughters of high aristocrats. If they fall to the third grade, his parents may start a feud with him, and he may lose more than just his head. The consequences for him will be extreme. It is likely that great aristocrats will begin to act in different spheres. Thus, he is banned from entering magical academies, and in nearby countries he can no longer work as a magician. And that's not all. Now he can't trade, for example, he can't even become an alchemist selling medicines. Honesty will mitigate the punishment, he must prepare while he can. For him, the only option left was actually the death penalty. The guy asked him. The man said that he no longer had anything to do with him. The guy said he understood him. The man said that he had nothing more to talk about with him, so they just need to win the tournament. The guy wanted him to help him gain access to banned literature in the library. The academy had a special library. It was so dangerous that ordinary students were not allowed there due to the amount of prohibited literature. Not only are students not allowed to use banned literature, but the boy said the teacher was already at his wit's end and shouldn't care. But his comrades did not understand why Charles had gathered them and why he was saying such obvious things. He said that he had learned the secret of Alfred's strength. A demon possessed him. The guy said that in order to summon a strong demon, you need to offer something valuable in return, for example, life. They were driven into a corner. That demon can use 8-step magic. Even if it were necessary to call in a court magician to exterminate the devil, dealing with the devil was a complex diplomatic matter. Charles said they couldn't count on the state to help them in yet another quarrel. Well, this is a book about summoning demons, left by a magician 500 years ago. His comrades were surprised that he had entered the forbidden library. If Alfred summoned a demon, then they can do it too. He used forbidden literature, from which it becomes clear that he summoned a lower demon who knows how to use 8-step magic. Then they will summon a medium demon who can use 9-step. They will be able to resist Alfred. The average demon needs to be summoned, that is, it will be a ritual. They need a victim, which means it will be one of them. Everyone was against it. Charles said he would help them with the ritual, but he said that he would only help with his preparation. The guy said that was all, and 2 guys should stay. They assumed he wanted them to become victims. Charles said he couldn't drag others into this. There is no need to sacrifice life, and the sacrifice can be divided among 3. According to his calculations, life can be replaced by 2 legs and 2 arms. He needs left and right hands from them. They decided that they could simply sacrifice Michael. He could no longer use magic, and they could at least offer him up. The guy said Denny's was a genius. They were asked if they understood what they were saying. The guy managed to get out of the mansion, but then he would probably be punished. Michael decided to offer them his legs, as they said. His life is already over. He can sacrifice both legs. When you just need to take care of him more and nothing will change. It's the same with my child. He used to be a nobleman, but now he lives in the servant's barn. So now many criminals use his body at night. If Alfred is defeated, they will still be socially alive. Michael said he was fixated on him because he had ruined his life and he couldn't afford to lose until he saw him lose. He was ready to never walk again. He was ready to forget everything they said about him. The guy said that if there were no objections, they would finally be able to see with their own eyes the show of cruelty against Alfred. They cannot let this big event fail to come true. Michael said that he tried harder than anyone else and would have to watch it from a VIP seat. He will return his insult 1,000-fold. Chad worked as best he could. He told the place where he hides his accumulated wealth, it is possible to transfer this money to the guild. And if we steal Lisa, then we can lure Alfred. She was always near him, they liked her face. He forced the teacher to commit a crime and bring the forbidden book and chose these 3 as victims. But the guy will have nothing to do with it. Even if he is the most important one, he will have nothing to do with it. The hero didn't think that while he was his bodyguard, Lisa would be kidnapped. The guy apologized. Alfred said that there was no need to apologize this time. Unlike with the chat, their plan was not so simple. They tricked him. It's quite amazing new actions. He didn't feel the aesthetics. Taking a girl hostage is very inelegant, and there is no way to save them. They would go alone without warning anyone and would act according to the instructions in the letter he'd inserted. The hero was against it, but he had no intention of acting exactly as they asked. If someone dared to touch Lisa with even 1 finger, then he will not have even 1 left. There was an emergency. The director said that they recently sent a blood sample from student Alfred to the Magical University for analysis. There were no details yet. Tomorrow is the exam, which means the senior leader of the Magic Guild will come to the tournament final. One of the 3 holy sages, Lady Isabella of the Holy Flame, will come to them. He doesn't know because there's nothing left to do but wait for details. Demons once ruled. There's a mansion where sacrifices were held. 1 spot absorbed a lot of blood, and a large residue of black mana formed on it. There was no better place to summon demons. The other day, 100 chickens, 10 pigs, and a little bit of other stuff were brought into that mansion. It is impossible to know whether this was done by guild members, but it seems that they were transferred to the mansion along with the fox. The customer was undoubtedly someone from the first class. As he understood, those who fear them want to avenge the guys and summon the demon. The guy asked how he found out everything in such a short period of time. Alfred said that he used to play detective. As is clear from the ingredients, they want to summon a middle-class demon. They are going to set it on them. Relying on a decision made after an investigation could cost him his life. He reminded him of the mistake he made when losing to the Minotaur and said it wasn't like his clever self. But there was only one Minotaur, and he was deceived by the Adventurers Guild. The hero said that if he wanted to become strong, he had to remember everything. The guy said that he was bored and it also stank there, so it was impossible to breathe. If there is a lack of ability, then it is unclear why they were invited there. Because they stole, and if the courts and schools find out, they'll get into trouble. After all, they come from aristocratic families. They are not needed there anyway, but they still don't leave. The guy said that he had thought about it too, and it wasn't that he wanted to see Alfred defeated. Anything will do for him, as long as they don't become servants. The guy asked him if he felt sorry to just leave, and told him to look at the floor. So it means they didn't come in vain. There was a foul smell, but he couldn't stop breathing, and that was probably because everything was mixed up. The guy was losing control of himself more and more. The hero said that there was a disgusting smell there, and it was not suitable for the girl. Alfred said to finish quickly. Michael came and said that they would finish quickly, and that they were well prepared. He said that they would defeat Alfred. The main character said that he was in a bad mood and needed to finish quickly. Michael said they should have realized that they would be against them. He said he would prepare for revenge. Those three sacrificed their limbs for the ritual. This means they summoned not just an average demon, but one of the most powerful. Michael said it was time for the messenger of despair who could use the 9th stage. Zeros asked if he could deal with him. The protagonist said it was too much even for him. He was told that even he who could use the 7th stage might have trouble even touching a moderate demon. And he understands that the hero will definitely be able to defeat him, so he decided to make him a test for himself. He is to blame for what happened, and yet, no matter how embarrassed he is, he wants to be useful to him. He understands that he may not succeed, and he may cause him inconvenience. However, he will not forget how he saw his magical energy and spent time with him outside the academy. There is no one to whom he could trust his life like him, and he is sure of it. The boy asked if he would like to be taken on as an apprentice. He said he hadn't taken on any apprentices in his past life. They told him he knew. The protagonist said he wouldn't stop him. Alfred said that even if he was on the verge of death, he would help him. If he is ready, he must show what he is capable of. There was a large amount of magical energy and an ominous feeling. Insert next to it, it is clear that any mistake can cost lives. Even if you charge him with magic in the face, the 6th level will not do anything to him. They see the magical power of the enemy. He hid most of the magical power in the bait and decided to hide it as best he could. Michael said that he would not be able to withstand the attack of an average demon and that one blow would turn him into mush. Strengthen his body day after day. The hero said that he would give him 80 points for strengthening his body, and he passed. The guy said he wasn't going to save him. Alfred said that he would not have saved him from passing the exam. He said that even if he took him as a student, he had nothing to teach him. If he wants, he can strive for heaven with him. Michael said that even if he saved him, he only saved him for a short time, and they would simply lose later. The one they summoned is called the God of Death and War, and long ago, he devoured the souls of 200 warriors. He himself saw that the guy had not caused him any harm. It's very difficult to confirm something like this. Fearing the prospect of losing my life in a fight with an invincible enemy who can kill with a single blow. Michael said he had only one choice, and that was to kneel. Even so, he will never forgive him, and all that remains is for him to lose. The man said that one shouldn't say such things. Everything is like that time, the laughter trying to break the boy psychologically. This is not elegant at all. The monster said he thought it was boring to end it so quickly. He gives him a chance. The monster will stand still and says to hit him with all his might. The hero said that he could even speak and asked to tell why he gave him this chance. He replied that his self-confidence was quite strong, so he wanted to see his punch with all his heart, and his face when his punch would not hurt him at all. The guy apologized for the weak hit. He used extreme magic. Michael didn't understand what it was. The guy stands and looks at the creature lying on the floor and dead. Suddenly everyone is shocked by what happened. The guy asks the bald guy what happened here. He says that he killed Andrade with one blow. After all, he is an average demon. After this, he panicked and said many times that this simply couldn't happen. The guy with the big nose thinks that this is an average demon that can only be killed if you gather a squad of knights and all the magicians of the palace. Is it really true that Alfred's strength is superior to the strength of an entire squad of knights? The guy then extends his hand and asks about 6 months and 23 days, if they know what that number means. The bald man asks him what he is suddenly saying. So much time has passed since the owner of this body began to be bullied, and they cannot even imagine the number of days until he stopped going to school. The guy also says that he is his replacement. He is taking revenge for him, and the amount of revenge is based on justice. He angrily informs them that he will not let them experience this hell for the same amount of time. Then some door appears behind him. He uses 9-step magic dimension gate. The guy says that there is a monster behind these gates that he looks after. Does he know about the dryads? He is sitting on the floor and thinking that they are plant monsters, like they catch people and eat them. The guy says that dryads are the highest type of shadow flora, and one is his pet. After they catch people, dryads show them nightmares and feed on their fear. Because the shadow flora provide nourishment to their victims, they cannot die, causing the victims to go insane. It takes about half a year for a person to become crippled, and if he doesn't, he will be left with deep psychological trauma. They broke this boy's heart, so they need to at least feel his suffering. Suddenly one of the guys shouts out that this is nonsense. They ask him if he wants to show real hell. The guy asks who, in their opinion, felt it first. One of the guys angrily thinks that the dryad's nightmares are accompanied by pain, and that this will have to be endured for 6 months. Suddenly the guy with the round nose tells Alfred that he is a good guy. He didn't think that he would force him to use something. Baldy asks Charles if he can somehow save them, and he says that of course he can, but he can't do it alone. He asks all the people if he can ask them all to help him. Everyone shouts that of course, if they can avoid such hell, what should they do? Charles asks them if they are ready to promise anything, even life, after which they became unsure. However, the hairless guy screams that of course, no matter what they do, they are already finished, then at least let them make it rain blood out of Alfred. Charles smiles and says that the agreement is concluded, and Alfred looks at him in surprise. Charles approaches and informs that since the magic circle is still drawn, a larger sacrifice can be provided and extreme magic can be used. He tells them that they can summon a higher demon. Suddenly someone falls to their knees and asks what happened to their body. Alfred looks at all this in shock. Then several people's heads exploded and the man in glasses panicked. All his classmates would be victims. Everyone here was the child of aristocrats, and the only thing that awaited him was the death penalty. Alfredo looks at the body of one of the people and says that he did not intend to kill. Charles admits that he does too, as it wasn't his original plan to kill everyone. Alfred says that he is to blame for everything. He is a candidate for the 10 swords. He says that he is not only good at magic, but also not so bad in mind. Alfred asks the guy why he was chasing him. He just did what he deserved. He screams about how he studied hard and trained his magic, but because his family is simply better, he was always better than him. Alfred admits that he doesn't remember doing anything wrong to him. Alfred thought that Charles was his friend. That's all he remembers. Charles says that it was just his parents who told him to consider him a friend. Both Charles and Alfred's family wanted Charles to be his servant, but he couldn't bear such shame, and in the end his family abandoned him, and he thought that this was his chance to take revenge for looking down on him. But all this will end with his despair. Now he will call one of the assistants of the Demon King Abaddon, also called the Dagger, a higher demon, capable of using extreme magic. Then the guy shouts some kind of spell, and a scary huge creature appears behind him. Charles shouts to Alfred that he will finally take revenge on him, the beginning of the countdown to his despair. Suddenly the guy with broken glasses is frightened by this creature. Alfred realizes that he is a subject of Abaddon. He is the subordinate of the destroyer Dark Nebula. Isn't he the same as Desprise of the 5 warring gods' generals? Charles does not understand what he is talking about. The creature asks why he knows the name of his master. His name is known only to 5 generals and his friends recognized by the master. Charles is suddenly surprised by this. Alfred asks him if he has noticed yet that among people there is only one person who communicated with Abaddon. The creature asks the guy if he is really the great sage Mr. Cedric. He asks who else. He asks how Abaddon is doing. The creature says that it is good. He is still looking for the strongest. The creature would also like the guy to come to Abaddon's palace. He will take this into account, and Charles is perplexed by what is happening. He is shocked to think that Alfred treats Desprez as if he were a subordinate, but Desprez considers this normal. He does not understand what is happening. Is his childhood friend Alfred a great sage? He doesn't understand anything and asks him if he called himself Cedric. He asks not to make him repeat it. He is the great sage Cedric. He was simply reborn into this body. Charles hears about the magic of reincarnation for the first time, but it is not a lie, and if he really is the only great sage in history who was granted the title of heavenly, then everything becomes clear to him. The guy is shocked to realize that he started a fight not even with a demon, but with someone who became stronger than a god. Alfred will inform him that it is obvious that he was mistaken in turning against him. He should not have named the servant Abaddon and him himself. Charles angrily asks what kind of nonsense this is. The Demon King won't answer a human's call. Alfred says that he might answer if he is his opponent. Maybe he will come out of curiosity. Charles understands that the guy speaks as if he knows him. Alfred admits that he and Abaddon already fought 20 years ago. From that moment, they became allies for each other. Charles is shocked by this. He lets go of his head. He asks if he is the great sage Cedric. Alfred reports that he not only bullied him and stole the fox, but also killed more than 30 of his classmates. He asks Charles if he thinks there is still salvation for him. He gets scared. Then the guy pulls a dagger out of nowhere and throws it at his guy. Charles, in shock, asks what it is. They explain to him that he decided to show mercy, whether he will use this knife or not. Charles thinks about whether he really wants to save him. The guy says that if we take the average life expectancy of all his classmates, 50 years, then he stole 1,500 years of people's lives, then he will give it to the Dark Flora to watch nightmares for 1,500 years. The guy asks him not to think about his life because all this will happen in a dream. Charles thinks in horror that he is still ruthless. Cedric wants to kill him. He reminds him that he said he would show mercy, so let him decide, or he will end things now. Or he will watch the hell of Dark Flora. Let him choose what he likes more. Charles looks in horror at the dagger lying on the floor in front of him. Then he moves and picks it up. He sees his reflection in the dagger and asks Cedric if he will pardon him. He asks him to pardon him in tears. He asks him about the fact that he has Alfred's memories inside him. They were friends back then. Charles asks the guy that he wouldn't do that to his friend. Alfred understands that he decided not to resist, but to ask for forgiveness. 10 swords would be shocked by this. However, suddenly vines appear behind him and grab the guy, who in horror asks Alfred to wait. Cedric asks the guy if he remembers the last words he said to Alfred. He will repeat the same thing he said then, give him back what he gave them. Cedric then says goodbye to him and hopes that they will never meet again. Charles asks him to stop, but Cedric does nothing and the Dryad captures the guy, who, in horror, asks him to stop. The guy is terrified and asks for someone to help him and asks Cedric to have mercy on him. He reaches out to the guy who is leaving and calls him by the name of Alfred. The guy comes out and he asks him to open the door. Several people enter the room and look at something in surprise. 2 hours have passed since Desprez's call, and that same day night, all the teachers have arrived at the scene where the dead students lie. One of the teachers asks in shock what happened here. Someone says that this is a demon summoning. Why did they do such a stupid thing? Then someone says that there is a body of a medium demon here. Then someone notices something in surprise, namely the man sitting on the floor. It is the manager Clive. They ask where he is from, whether he is breathing at all. They have many questions, but who laid out the uniform of their students like this? The man doesn't think that this is the work of a demon. Someone asks if they summoned a demon with the help of forbidden literature. One of the guys grabs Clive and tells him that their students died. What was he even thinking? His class was made up entirely of aristocratic children, and he would be held accountable for this. The boy demanded that Clive, with his glasses broken, tell him what had happened to the summoned demon and whether they had defeated him. Alfred defeated the middle demon. The disciples' ritual was incomplete. That's what he remembers. But after that, he could not resist the wave of fear that Desprez threw back, and he lost consciousness. And what happened after that? They arrived after a tip-off from the third class. Clive, shocked, asks if Alfred is still alive. This means Charles, along with him, lost consciousness and was eaten by Desprez. Meanwhile, the third class escaped, which led to this. They were probably saved. However, what happened to him? Because he took forbidden literature, everyone in his class died. He's trying to stop because he's gotten out of trouble a lot of times and he'll get out this time too. He just needs to shift the responsibility onto someone else. He needs to come up with a scenario for his brilliant brain. They tell him that they are sorry, but what happened has crossed the line of what he could control. The man will hand it over to the police knights, after which he will go to court. And most likely he will be executed after this. His glasses will fall off. He will realize in shock that he will be executed. Suddenly he starts screaming loudly and tears his throat with his own fingers. Everyone watches him in horror. That same day, the guy told Isabella that she was terrible as always, because he said that they needed 12-year-olds on average. A girl with dark hair asks him if he is saying this, being the owner of an orphanage. She decided to kidnap only the beautiful girls from the city. She must commit atrocities every night. Any commoner can see this by looking at their wounds and bruises. The girl laughs and says that she needs to go to the Magic Academy tomorrow and she is honestly too lazy to go there. She asks why she needs to go there. They tell her that she knows that the heavenly great sage Cedric studied the law of rebirth. He just drank their poison. It was clearly not normal, and besides the poison, they had several murder plans prepared for him. The girl reports that he studied reincarnation. Is this what she means to say? He studied the moments of death, and if only there was insurance against it, then people would be more relaxed towards those around them. But the law of reincarnation is not like a simple reincarnation into a child. He died only yesterday. There is no point in doing anything yet. Better make sure they check all young mages with high magical power to avoid the worst. If he regains his power, they won't be able to get away with it so easily. They need to kill him before he fully recovers from his rebirth. The girl drinks and says that this time it's only the 8th step. She thinks that he's too worried. She herself would not forgive him if such a boy were alive. She asks if that's all because she finally wants to have some fun. The girls look at her with fear. He gets up and leaves, laughing. He says that the hobby is important, even though he cannot share her love for it. The girl says that she is saying goodbye to him and waves her hand. The girl thinks that it's good that he died, because now she can do whatever she wants. The guy adjusts the bow tie on his neck and says that because of that incident with the demon, the final exam turned into something. A victory without a fight is still a victory. Besides, at today's awards ceremony for Alfred, one of the 3 holy sages of the Magicians Guild, Lady Isabella, will come to visit. When he himself was studying at the Magic Academy, he attracted her attention. The guy turns around and asks Simon if he is also proud of Alfred, whom he has courted for a long time. He says that yes. As for him, who saw the period when he was nothing, he does not know what to call it except a dream. He reports that at the moment it seemed that he was just a disgrace, but if you think about it, his son could not be him. He could be the best in their family, even in the dynasty of Belial magicians. He asks Simon to continue as well. Simon says that he drove his son away, unfortunately, and that he ever thought about his feelings. At first he is surprised and then shakes his head. He informs him that it is improper for a commoner to express his opinion to a great aristocrat, but today he is in a good mood, so he will pretend that he did not hear. Let him thank him. Simon simply agrees with this. Then the man asks about Alfred's feelings. It seems that commoners cannot understand aristocrats. He speaks of bringing him back after he has become the same commoner, that is, bringing him back from earth to heaven. He can't be unhappy with this. Simon is surprised and he says that, however, Isabella, as the eldest in the family, would like to have a connection with her, when suddenly someone enters the room. This is a maid. The man asks her to tell the head maid to open the safe and bring 5 gold bars here. Simon looks at the man in surprise. He asks what she wants to do, whether he was planning to use them to save starving peasants. Even during the implementation of this plan, people continued to die of hunger. It was already a risky plan. He explains that the company of people like them is important to aristocrats. Money is more important to them than anything else. To begin with, as a sign of greeting, they need a gift. He asks the man if this is true. The protagonist asks the director if he is resigning. He tells him that many aristocrats died. He was lucky that he was only expelled from the academy. He apologizes. He did not think that his plan would come to this. However, the director says that it is his own fault for not accepting students from the servant class. Cedric asks if it is because of the attitude of the parents of the aristocrats. He is responsible for the continued existence of the academy, so he cannot stop it. The director explains that he approved the plan and all responsibility lies with him. So when he first saw its power here, he understood everything. He realized that he would be able to fix this academy someday, and he was able to do it and did it faster than expected. Then the director asks the guy not to think about him, and also admits that he is proud of the guy. The guy asks him about how he knew magical toxicology best of all. He agrees, and the name of his most famous work was the ability to neutralize poisons using barrier magic. It had quite an interesting content. He communicates with it respectfully, not because of status. He simply considers it worthy of respect. The director is surprised that he read it. Does he want to say that he, as a student, understood him? He says that among the police knights there is a man named Theodore. Has he heard that he is looking for a prominent toxicologist? The director, shocked, asks the chief police knight how he knows this, and he admits that he simply overheard. In the assembly hall, the students applaud the two people who actually did it. They didn't just win, they were able to destroy the servant system, Sil, Alfred, and Ciro's. She's not like them, she's strong. Lisa is also pretty good. She didn't manage to win, but no one said anything bad about her. The man tells the boy that he, like his father, is very proud of him, but it is too early to stop. Everyone in this hall is celebrating his victory. The glory of the Belial family should be known to everyone. Everyone should know how outstanding their family is. Then he asks his son why he suddenly became silent when his parent praises him. After all, he should thank him and bow. Then the main character turns to Simon and asks him who it is that is talking to him. He remembers someone like him. His father told Alfred that he was disowning him, that he was no longer his son, that he would now treat him as if he didn't exist, and that he, the Great One, should treat him as if he didn't exist either. That was an order. The man suddenly angrily realizes that he was simply ignored. The main character is surprised. He notices Isabella sitting on the throne and thinks that he never thought that he would meet her now. The main character and the girl next to him are told that they are being presented with certificates of honor, and then they hold them in their hands in front of them. And now, congratulations to Alfred's team from a member of the Mages Guild, one of the three holy sages, Lady Isabella. The girl gets up from the throne, approaches the guy, and realizes that he is the same Alfred with the genes of rebirth. Then the girl looks closely at the main character and says that she is surprised. She admits that she considers him a simple brat, which leaves the man standing aside in shock. The protagonist thinks that she has remained like this, even though she was taught to always carefully evaluate the opponent's abilities, even if he is significantly inferior in strength. The guy understands that she does not notice his hidden abilities of magical energy. She tells him that he is some kind of a warrior. She is upset. She thought that he would be worthy of her attention, but it turned out to be quite the opposite. She then turns around and admits that she likes his face and asks him if he wants to come to her party. The girl thinks that his father is from the Belial family, so he must be around somewhere. The man shouts out that he's here and if she can borrow him for the night. Isabella says she's honored to be on stage as a student's relative. That's not why she needs them. The man, surprised, agrees with her. This is luck. He heard that Mrs. Isabella's parties are held nearby. If she likes Alfred, then one can hope for a love relationship between them. The Belial family's reputation will greatly increase. The protagonist then thanks the girl for the invitation but declines it. The father, shocked, reveals that it was, in fact, an invitation from Lady Isabella herself. He realizes his son is ignoring her and, not understanding why, becomes angry. He angrily promises Alfred that he will not forgive him. Isabella asks what he means, and he admits that he has no experience with women and would not want to dissatisfy her. But if she is not against it, then she can participate. She asks if it is true, and he has cheeky eyes for a cute face. She thought that he was experienced. The girl says that in that case she doesn't need him. Alfred understands that the answer was expected. Her habits remain the same, and because he no longer restrains her, she has spiraled out of control. Isabella turns to the director and informs him that she has done her work and is going home. The director turns to her and informs him that they have prepared a feast for her. However, as she leaves, the girl says that unfortunately this is not enough for her. The guy was always looking for an opportunity to contact them, but he never thought that they would come to him themselves. Now he doesn't need to save the boy's soul, and there is no one left to save at the academy. He announces that it is time to move. The guy next to him asks Alfred if he wants to fight the three knights. However, the main character reports that no, his powers are now only a tenth of what he had, so it's still too early. The guy is shocked when he remembers what the main character did and wonders if it was a tenth of his strength. He asks if this means that he will not be able to defeat the three wise men, and he says that if it is Isabella, then he can defeat her. However, it won't be easy, and fighting against the other two will be difficult, so he needs to get his strength back to what it was before. He turns to Cyrus Oz and tells him that they are going north, asking him to give the three of them, including Lisa, notices of academic leave. He agrees and asks if he is sure that it is worth dragging Lisa into this. Alfred informs that the fox's survival technique requires maintenance time due to the after effects. If he is not with her for more than 2 weeks, it could be life-threatening for her. The guy thinks about the side effects. If she overcame the 50% chance of death, even though there was nothing to be done about it, he still feels responsible for it. Then these are all too serious consequences for the sake of power. The girl eats and asks them what is going on. They seem a bit gloomy. What are they talking about? She suggests they go to the buffet because it is delicious there. The guy thinks that she probably doesn't know anything. The main character says that just after the meal they thank her for it. The girl, in shock, asks what Alfred did to make the chance of death from that potion 0. It's unlikely that even Alfred could have done something like that. The guy asks her to listen to him until the end and tells her that she is now alive thanks to one thing. He tells her that Mr. Alfred is actually a great sage and that Mr. Cedric is inside him. The girl is shocked by this news. The girl is shocked and loudly asks about it again. The guy with a smile says that the reaction was expected. The main character tells her that if she is so surprised, her body may not be able to withstand it. She asks him how one can not be surprised. Then the guy asks Alfred about a leave from the academy, where they will go. The guy says that he needs to visit an old friend in order to defeat Isabella and the others. He must return all his powers as soon as possible. There is still time before the sacrifice is given. The demons need to hurry. The guy says that he would have won against Isabella, but does he want to fight her in front of everyone? He says that this is true. Then they are on the street. The man reads the paper and says that now is the period when many demons are wandering. If they want to leave with the caravan, then they will have to go with them in one bunch. The main character says that he agrees. There are 3 of them. Later, the 3 of them get into a carriage, and the coachman informs them that they are setting off on their journey. They pass through beautiful mountains in a whole caravan. The girl looks at the view from the window. The guy says that soon they will be in the territory of the Dragonoids. They find themselves already on the northern border in Valnorath. The girl asks about whether it is safe in the land of the Dragonoids, whether there were attacks on cities in the territory of Valnorath. The guy informs her that 2 years ago Cedric pacified the ancient Dragonoid Mikardor, and she can communicate the same way as before. Lisa awkwardly agrees. She thinks that she is now traveling with someone whose name has remained in history. She wants to prove that even a commoner can become a magician. She wants to become a great magician, like Cedric himself. Then the guy thoughtfully says that it's difficult to say that Valnorath is safe. After Mikaldor's death, people are now attacking the Dragonoids, and the girl asks what that means. Dragonoids are one of the non-human races. If they are given a dragon stone, they will not be able to become dragons. Armed people attack them, take the dragon stones, and sell them for a high price. The protagonist reports that they are good at war, but after he defeated Mikaldor, they should have no point in fighting. The guy heard that Isabella is hunting them. He reports that she catches them and tortures them in the basement of her mansion. The girl says that this is cruel. She uses the power intended for demons for her own pleasures. The protagonist angrily thinks that this is unforgivable. Suddenly, the horse breaks and the girl almost falls. The guy reports that something seems to have happened. He goes out to take a look, but one man asks them not to go out. They report that a pack of demons has appeared on their path. They are warriors and must deal with them. They are students at a magic academy, after all. It's best for them to stay put, but they can't. They realize they're orcs. They are informed that it would be fine if they were members of the Magic Guild, but the students will not be able to resist them. The girl thinks that after she found out who Alfred really is, it sounds so stupid, even though the man is telling the truth. The protagonist tells them that they'll rely on them for now, but if they need help, they should call. The man laughs and asks them to keep a watchful eye from a distance so as not to interfere with their battle. The men run into battle and notice that one of the orcs is a rebel orc. Where did such a unique monster come from? They shout that they can't defeat something like that, then the guy jumps and finds himself above the orcs. The guy uses 8th level magic, namely heavenly fire, and projectiles appear in the sky. These projectiles fall directly on the orcs and pierce them. The man in shock thinks about what kind of child this is. The protagonist asks him about learning to use 8th level magic. He admits that it was an experiment. The man is shocked by all of this. Suddenly, a huge orc emerges from underground. It's the Orc Emperor. The protagonist says that this is not bad. It seems the guy understands his immaturity. Then he will show how to do this same step. Then, just as the orc was about to reach the guy's hand, he managed to use an air storm. The warriors ask what happened. The orc remains standing in the same position. Suddenly, the orc is cut in half. Siros looks on in shock. The protagonist informs him that he will receive the elementary use of the 8th stage. At night, several people gathered around a fire. They placed carts around it. A man was drinking and talking in surprise about the schoolchildren killing the Orc Emperor. His heart even sank into his heels. One of them asks what kind of people they are. No matter how many times he finds out, it still confuses him. They would also like to exchange words with them, but they can't find them. Suddenly, they realize they're gone and ask where they went. The protagonist explains that they're now separated from the world and no one will see them within a kilometer. The guy offers to start training them. The girl's count has already reached 1,000. What she is currently doing is the burpee exercise. The girl then jumps up and uses a fireball, which is a training exercise where you have to connect your mind with your magical target through repetitive movements. But 10,000 times is too much for a warm-up. She asks if she can rest a little and the guy agrees with a smile and hands her a glass of water. The girl thanks him. She tells him that she got exhausted so quickly. She still has a long time to train. The guy says that after the first 100 he needed to rest. She is progressing very quickly. Using the fireball and doing burpees at the same time is more difficult than a regular workout. For him, 10,000 times is too much. Then she asks where Alfred is. He made another barrier inside the barrier and trains burpees with meteorological rain 10,000 times. The girl is shocked by this. The protagonist reports that it is difficult to use the highest level 10,000 times, and he trains 10 times faster than the girl. He also says that he is thinking of making Lisa's training more difficult, since she is most suited to defensive magic, so they will train her. Then the main character conjures swords and tells her that, to begin with, he asks her to watch carefully. After this, the guy uses his 8-step magic and casts the sword waltz spell, demonstrating it to the girl. Under extreme stress, his entire body is always covered in protective magic. They will simply bounce off him. He says that by dodging, she simply reduces the chance that she will have to make the sword bounce off. If she relaxes even a little, it will hurt, but he guarantees her the result. The guy tells Lisa with a smile that she probably already realized that this will be a difficult training session. Lisa asks the guy if this is too much, and he says no. After all, he trained like this at only 9 years old. The guy tells him that, be that as it may, he also thinks that this is too much for Lisa, who has never trained so hard. The main character asks about the fact that her confidence is strong. She is sure that she can do it, and he just has to explain everything to her. The girl confidently says that she can do anything. If she becomes stronger, she will try. Alfred praises her. It's very elegant. The guy tells her that they'll start training later where she could seriously injure herself. He says that's true, but first they'll show her how he trained when he was 6. Tomorrow they will arrive at the Dragonoid territory. Once they get there, they won't be able to train at any time, so they need to finish everything today. Isabella calls someone impudent. She said that she was not interested in him, so why did he come? He has a gift for her. The protagonist's father asks to accept the gold bars, and she asks that he works not only with words, but that his family is called the Belials. He hopes that she will remember him. The girl asks him if he is the one who rules the northern territory of Valnorat. When he gives a positive answer, she laughs and says that this is excellent. She asks to make a place for dragon hunting there. He understands that she wants to make the dragons servants, but they have tried to avoid that. He informs her that dragon hunting is prohibited. His Majesty does not permit it. Besides, the police knights are still dealing with the dragon hunting incident, and the knight's leader, Theodore, is unlikely to forgive him. The girl says he wanted her to remember him, so she should do so quickly. Agrees in horror, and she promises to give him a reward, so right now he will go north. The man waves to the protagonist's group and wishes them luck. They approach some settlement and they are surprised. Then a bird arrives with a letter from the director. It seems he has been accepted for a leadership position in the police knights. He will certainly be useful to their leader Theodore. Everything is as planned. The guy asks if something was planned. The main character says that, as far as he knows, his final goal is to destroy all the demons living in human territories. But the inhabitants of the palace are so rotten that now is not the time for that. First, we need to destroy the three sages, the rabble. And Theodore is one of the few people he can trust. He sent him his subordinate so that he would have more freedom to act. After the death of Cedric, the emperor is probably strengthening his troops. For the sake of his majesty, he needs to quickly return his forces to Valnorath. The guy reports what was expected of him. Then who is that old friend of yours from Valnorath? When he finished the theory of reincarnation, he lent him something. Suddenly they notice smoke and the girl asks if it is Valnorath that is burning, but the guy says that he is further away. The lower race of dragonoids lives here, and here is the area of the lizard men. They are usually peaceful. Unless they are attacked, they do not become aggressive. Suddenly they notice that one of the people is killing the lizardman, causing him to scream in horror. From here they can't really see, but it's obvious that people are up to something. The main character suddenly notices something. This is the protagonist's father shouting that his warriors are very powerful. He stands and laughs, spreading his arms to the sides. Then he thinks about why he is laughing, why he is in the midst of military action. It was possible to get to Valnorath past the eyes of the lizardmen, but why did they go straight ahead, especially since while they are fighting here, she is having fun. Then he screams and hits the sword on the ground and it breaks. The man turns to him and tells him that there is still a chance to stop, that he can retreat. He doesn't understand what he is talking about. This time, the warriors aren't acting out of duty. They're killing not just non-human aliens, but lizard men. It's a crime. He knows no one is saying it was the Belial family that did it. The plan was for it to be an attack by armed bandits. It's okay if they get caught. It's just His Majesty making a fuss. We can hush it up as usual. He angrily asks him if he wants to say anything else. Permission to go with him is, on the one hand, a punishment for him for raising Alfred like this. Why has he, a former swordsman, never killed anyone? Is this sword an adornment to him? He gave him a chance to show his loyalty. The man reveals that he was subordinate to him as Alfred's servant, but he can't take it anymore and resigns from his position as a servant of the Belial family. The man rides his horse and thinks that he is very sorry that he was never able to help Alfred to the end. Then he realizes that he doesn't need his help anymore. Suddenly his horse slows down and he is confused. He asks the knights what they need. The master ordered them to kill him since he was of no use. Not only did he fail in raising Alfred, but they also refused to work for the Belials. He made the master upset. He asks if this is why they decided to kill him. He asks Algren Belial asks if he's really that much of a rabble. He orders them to attack. He'll show them the power of the demon bridge of Offen. He was once an elite soldier, but over the years his sword skills have weakened. Perhaps it would be worth demonstrating his magic to them. After he prepares for battle, he tells Alfred that if he could have one wish, it would be to meet him just once before he dies. Suddenly, the main character flies out of the sky and asks the man if he called him. However, he warns that these warriors are under the command of Belial. He asks not to speak for everyone. They are attacking the lizard men. The protagonist asks Simon if he needed his help, and he has become stronger since their last meeting. Behind the guy lie knights without strength. Simon is surprised to realize that it was an instant kill. He admits that it is all thanks to him. Thanks to him, he became so strong. The man wipes away his tears and says that he really has become so strong. The guy admits that it is thanks to his support. Then the main character says that he will go. They both left the Belial family and their paths diverged, but he will not forget that he raised him. Simon looks at Alfred with a smile. The man asks him where he is heading since he can also go with him, but the guy says that it is not worth it since only bloody battles await him ahead. The knights report that he ran somewhere there. No one can be left alive. Mr. Algren reported that he promises to double the reward for the one who kills the most. One of the knights says that he will be the one. He killed 7, but the second knight thinks that he will overtake everyone. A man enters an alley. Amazed by the noise, he sees a lizardman there with his child, who asks him to let her live. The man's name is Marcus Ernville. He destroys 2 creatures in front of him. He spent his entire childhood mastering the sword. He wandered through different dojos, the Swordsman of Light. This name became his time, and they began to call him after defeating more than 100 people. And after just one defeat, he lost all his glory and became a mercenary, a knight at his beck and call. They tell him they've found the rest, and he says he'll be right there. It's so stupid, but now he kills for money. At first, he just stands there, but then he is surprised to hear that someone is using high-level magic. The man looks up in surprise at the main character flying towards him and thinks about who he is. Alfred looks at him. Then the main character silently points his finger at him. Magic circles are formed and the guy uses the Longinus bullet, attacking the man. The knights look in horror at the destroyed Marcus. They ask who this guy is, how the aristocrat dared to kill him. The knights understand that he is beyond their control. One of the knights says that he is just a child and he is no match for the Belial knights. He decides to attack the main character, but he easily dodges the sword strike. He jumps and asks if the Belial knights know him, then he attacks the knight with his foot. The knight flies back from the blow and breaks through several walls with his body, after which he crashes. The second knight is amazed at how far his partner has flown, and the protagonist tells them that this means they are just a gray mass. The remaining knight shouts to everyone else to come here, after which a crowd of them gathered, and one of them reports that whoever this guy is, he will not be able to cope with such a number. The main character apologizes and says that this will only make it easier for him to find the culprit. He begins to move quickly and attack them. They are amazed at how fast he is. One of the knights appears behind them and is about to attack him. However, he still dodges and the knight does not understand how he noticed his attack. Then the main character attacks him and decides to ask if he thought that he could not see from behind. About 30 seconds after the battle began, thanks to the ability to perceive space in different dimensions and his physical abilities, all the warriors experienced death. The dying knight thinks that this guy is a real god of war. In the main tent of the Belial camp, the protagonist's father holds a glass of wine in his hands and examines it. Suddenly, one of the knights bursts in and tells the man that they need to report to him. The man asks if they got rid of that stupid servant, or if they destroyed the lizard men. The knight admits that no, because the army sent to the settlement was completely defeated. The man is shocked by this news. Several knights see a boy and a girl running towards them and wonder what kind of little ones they are and where they came from. The girl extends her hand and uses 5th-level magic, lifting the knight into the air like a storm. The girl suddenly rejoices at the fact that she has become stronger, but her partner uses the 7th stage and attacks the enemies with an extreme storm, which leaves the girl in a stupor. He smiles and says what he saw. She was able to learn 5th-level magic and it's really cool. The girl awkwardly thanks him. She thinks that he just saw magic that was much cooler than hers. She thinks that if we talk about cool, then Alfred himself can be called that. The protagonist reports that they have now dealt with everyone remaining here, so now the leader of all these troops appears, his father. The man walks up to them and angrily asks who the fool was who decided to attack them, and it turns out to be his son Alfred. The boy tells him that unexpected things happen in life. He calls him Lord Belial and he realizes that he has stopped calling him father. The guy didn't even think that such a great aristocrat would be involved in the robbery case. The man angrily says that it's enough joking. Does he think that he, his biological father, is to blame? The protagonist admits that he believes he should be. It seems he himself understands how terribly he is acting. The man, in a rage, reports that he not only defeated all the mercenaries, but also his personal guard. He challenged the Belial family. The guy reports that they only destroyed the bandits who attacked the lizard men. They only defeated the villains. The man then angrily punches the wall and demands that he stop messing with him. Alfred asks if confessing to the Belial's crimes means he'll return to the capital to face His Majesty's decision. The man calls him a poor child and Alfred is perplexed by this. The man did not think that he would raise him like this. He needs to be locked in a mansion and his terrible disease cured. The man also says that this is in order. If he returns to the mansion, the man will stop. The result will depend on re-education. In the worst case, it will be necessary to use brainwashing magic, subjugation magic, and other forbidden ones. In this case, there is a high probability that he will become disabled, but for this, he needs to be re-educated. The girl thinks that this is very cruel. Are parents capable of such a thing? The main character thinks. He asks the man if he is a fool. After some time of silence, the father angrily asks him if he called his father that. He thinks that aristocrats should obey the head of the family. Does he really think that a son should obey the head of the parents? He says that if he does not understand this, then he will explain it to him. In other words, power is the ability to convey one's will, and now in this field they have the most power, not he. The protagonist asks him to speak only after he understands his position. The protagonist uses 4th level magic and increases gravity on the man. He chains himself to the ground and asks the guy if he wants to defeat him with such magic, what kind of power it is, whether it is the 4th level. The guy says that if there is something to say, then he listens. The man angrily shouts at Alfred that he will kill him, and the guy says that this is good. If he does not value his life, then let him attack him. Suddenly, Simon appears on the roof on a horse and shouts at the guy to wait, which surprises him. Simon says that he doesn't want them to kill each other. He asks him to change his mind. The main character is surprised that Simon still caught up with him. The protagonist thinks that this is the only request from the one who raised him for more than 10 years, and it would be very inelegant to refuse him. Only this time the guy decides to forgive the man, let him thank Simon, but he will still report this to the police knights. The man is angry. He asks how he dares to talk to his own father like that. The main character reminds him that he himself said that they are no longer father and son. After these words, the main character points his finger at him and attacks him with a magic beam. The beam hits and tears off the man's ear, causing him to suddenly start screaming in pain and fall to his knees. The protagonist tells him that he survived thanks to Simon. Let him understand this first and never again try to attack his partners, otherwise next time there will definitely be no mercy. He will shoot him in the heart. The man writhes in pain and thinks that he will not forgive Alfred. Now he is ready to do anything, because Isabella will be ready to erase him. The girl starts laughing and asks the man if he is more like a son to him, and if he was serious about telling him that. She admits that she hasn't laughed like this in a long time, and the man says that it's true that he was bothering them. He suddenly shouts that he is no longer his son, and tells the girl that he thinks she should sort things out with him. The girl says that she has no time for their quarrel, but okay, he will be near Valnorath for some time. The man says that most likely, then great, she will kill him, but then he will quickly gather all his warriors from the territory of the Belial family. He asks in shock whether it was all for the sake of one child. She says that of course not. She learned something from one dragon, something interesting. A long time ago they had a boss. He was a problem for them. He probably knows him himself. His name was the commander of the magic guild, Cedric. The ancient dragon Mikaldra, Cedric, says that he was hiding something in his abandoned castle. For the search, it would be better to have more people. Let him gather all his troops now. The man says that this has nothing to do with the goals of the Belial family. The girl asks if he wanted to return his son. Is that why he came? The man thinks that he tried to take advantage of her, but it was as if she was using him. The girl thinks that if the rumors are true, then Cedric is using Mikaldra's corpse to store something in it. Usually the three of them discuss plans, but if she does everything herself, then she will have a chance to become better than them. The girl thinks that the demons can only accept her, so he can take the post of commander of the Magic Guild. The girl asks the main character where they are. They are a little far from Valnorath. The guy understands that this is the castle of the king of the dark dragons Mikaldor. However, now it is just a ruined castle. The girl asks him why they came here and not to Valnorath. The guy says that if he finds out why right away, he'll be interested to know why she thinks so. He decides to think about it. Mikaldra, after all, is the dragon he defeated. Some artifact remained from Mikaldra, and with its help, he plans to regain his former powers. The main character says that the Magic Guild dealt with the artifacts. By the way, he also said that he gave something to his friend for safekeeping. He reports that in the basement of this castle there is an altar of dragon people. They go to it. The guy heard that this is a place for conducting rituals of dragon people, in which the soul of the ancient king of dragon people sleeps. Why is he in the basement of the castle? Mikaldra is an ancient dragon who, out of pride for having surpassed the king of the dragon people, built his dwelling on sacred territory above an underground altar, which made it impossible to get to the altar. But after his death, this sacred territory became publicly accessible, and rituals are now held there again, and right in front of them is the entrance to the underground. It seems that in order to get into the territory of the ancient king, one must pass trials. That is, only those who have demonstrated their strength can get there. He asks if this is true. The protagonist agrees and says that this is also very convenient for them. The foot of an ordinary person will not set foot here. What he needs to regain his strength is stored here, along with Mikaldra's body. The girl asks again about the body. She of course knew about this place, but it seemed like he was talking about giving his important thing to someone. Then they notice a staircase going down and think that it is creepy. The main character says that it is time to answer the questions that have arisen before. They find themselves in a large, empty room, standing directly in front of a fiery creature. The creature says that he is a fire spirit, and Ifrit, he laughs and says that even dragon people cannot get here. Do they think that people like them will be able to go further? The guy says that whether they just need to show strength, there were moments in history when people reached the altar. Only those who are called heroes were able to reach it, but those who were inspired by them will not pass. Ifrit says that instead of disgracing themselves, he suggests that they just leave here. The protagonist sighs and asks if he just needs to show his strength or what. Ifrit says that in that case he should show what he is capable of. There is a seal on this door. It simply cannot be opened with ordinary force. It cannot be moved. Then the main character conjures some kind of ball over his hand and starts kicking it. Ifrit looks at the guy in bewilderment. After this, the main character looks at the door and with a very strong kick sends the ball straight into it. The blow completely destroys the door, and Ifrit stands nearby and watches all of this. He tried harder, although he didn't have the same strength as before, but he didn't think that he would break the door. He apologizes and asks whether this door was really that flimsy. At first, Ifrit stands silently, but then, in complete shock, he asks what it is. The creature looks at the broken door and thinks about what the hell is going on. It is an adamantine door after all. He thinks that this door can only be destroyed by at least 8th level magic, which means this guy has the power of a hero class. The protagonist says that there are supposed to be only 3 tests, so there is no time to stand around. Could he please carry them out faster? Ifrit is shocked and thinks about what to do. If the door is broken down, then the one who broke it must be escorted straight to the altar. But now no one except the dragon people should approach it. Her order is absolute. He was especially strictly forbidden to allow people near the altar. Then he agrees and asks them to follow him, no offense to them, but he will have to lead them along the taboo road of trials, prepared especially for evildoers. They find themselves in a certain room, and Ifrit announces that in this room he will test their wisdom. The protagonist informs that this magic circle is the key to the next room, but the door will not open unless the correct steps are followed. Then Ifrit forbids using the technique he used on the door. There is a rule here, you can't break anything. He won't let you break the sacred territory. The main character asks Siros if he understood something. Ifrit thinks that if he is not an archaeologist, he will not understand anything. This circle was created by a lost civilization of magicians 3,000 years ago. The guy reports that this circle looks like that of ancient Bersia. Ifrit is again in shock from this. If they give Siros time, he will be able to open it. The protagonist asks how much time is needed. At first glance, he says that he understands half. It will take about 5 days to test everything on him. Ifrit asks Lisa if she too knows the circles of ancient Bersia, and she admits no. Siros is simply an erudite. These children amaze him, but perhaps they are simply geniuses. The protagonist calmly calls this circle vile because solving it is just a deception. Something else is needed here. You just need to add 1 line to the incomplete magic circle, which is what the guy does, causing the circle to glow. The door opens and Siros says he expected nothing less. He could tell what was wrong just by looking. This is what all ancient dragonkind did, Siros must remember. Ifrit is shocked, as is Lisa, and they ask themselves who these guys even are. Ifrit says that the next trial will test their courage. Alfred asks if it's the end for them if they fall into the abyss from this narrow path, but that's not all. While they're walking along it, a special barrier will hinder them mentally. They will remember the worst life experience, but only several times stronger. The main character is serious. If they are mentally healthy, then this is a simple task, but if not, then only despair awaits them, whether they will be able to go this way. Ifrit sees the guy walking forward and thinks that this is bad, because there are no people who can overcome despair. Everyone falls, the barrier is already activated, and he should be shaking with fear. Ifrit notices that the main character doesn't care, maybe he at least tensed his eyebrow, but his face is completely incomprehensible. The protagonist reaches the end and reports that it was quick. Ifrit asks how he did it, what he did, how he remained calm. The main character admits that despite any psychological stress, he only joyfully moved forward. However, in reality, nothing scared him. Ifrit was horrified to think that this guy was abnormal. Alfred announces that the next trial must be the last and that it must be done quickly. The next trial will test their strength, he will have to fight it. The protagonist reports that they can do it right here, and Ifrit asks to thank him because he will make concessions to him. He says that this time they will miss the test of strength. He thinks that he will not be able to defeat such a monster. In that case, let him lead them to the altar, but he cannot let them near the altar. She will kill him. What should he do? Ifrit is asked to surrender. Ifrit asks Ophelia why she is here, and she asks if he thought she wouldn't notice and wouldn't come. She ordered him not to let people to the altar. She came to do everything for him and destroy them herself. The main character tells her that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The girl says that it is still him and says that she was waiting for his return, calling him Cedric. The main character is asked who she is, and the guy admits that Ophelia is a vampire. The girl is surprised by this. This is the same vampire who appears in fairy tales. She is Mikaldra's ex-wife, although she tried to kill him when he was killing her. Unlike her husband, she is decent and not perfectly pure. After he made it clear to her, she then became his subject. All three of them are surprised by this. After this, Lisa slowly approaches the girl and asks if she was given the opportunity to understand. She smiles and says that 2 years ago, Lisa thought that this was a sincere smile and that it was scary. She asks if Cedric brought them, let them just call her by her first name. The guy asks them to be friends. She does not wish them harm. Ifrit didn't understand anything. He only understood that he had said all sorts of rude things to this man and that he was apologizing to him. The guy asks why. He says that he didn't know that he was Ophelia's friend and spoke to him arrogantly. Alfred asks what's wrong. He was simply carrying out his duties as a guard. There is no point in blaming him for fulfilling his duties. He is putting pressure on people and he is not very good at it yet. However, he will try. The guy thinks that for Ophelia, he should be something like a god. And they both obey Cedric. After traveling with him, he realizes that he is too incredible. The protagonist says that he came here to get what he left behind, and she asks him to follow her. The girl listens to the group's story, and the boy asks what happened to her. She assumed he left it for her. She learned through the Vampire Information Network that Isabella was targeting Valnorath, but that's not all. Information has emerged that all the warriors of the Belial family are going to attack Valnorath. Thanks to Simon, his father saved his life. He is callous. The girl says that they arrived as he told her. Mikaldra's body is kept right here. They enter a room where there is a dragon's head in the center. The girl says that here it is. Lisa asks if it's too much to force her to keep her ex-husband's body. The guy says that she lost to him and became his wife against her will. She is even very grateful for such a beautiful object on the altar. The girl is surprised by the vampire smile. The protagonist reports that he left a crystal with magical energy in it, but with the power of a dragon like him, this stone became a storehouse of enormous power. Even if she is someone else's, then along with how he prepared for rebirth, he sealed half of his magical power inside the stone. He will return it to himself. Suddenly, a stream of magical power occurs. For the first time, the guy sees such a release of power that will not lose to a magical wind attack. The guy understands that everything is as planned, 60% of his original strength. After he got the magical power from the stone, he can still act as a stone that can turn into a dragon. The protagonist also reports that he has come up with a way to convey something necessary to Isabella.